Going on, everybody? What's going on? Welcome to Sage Talk on the Lapeef Network. Definitely appreciate you guys for tuning in right now. If you guys missed last week's episode of Sage Talk, you guys missed a good one, man. It was definitely one for the books. Before we get this show started, shout out to the sponsor, Tej Handling. Get yourself 30% off along with the free gift. That link is posted in the description. We are live in Houston, April 23rd. April 23rd. There's activities going on all weekend. But make sure you guys get your ticket and come out. I see a lot of you guys bought your tickets today. Appreciate that. But if you haven't, you don't want to miss this, man. This is one for the books as well. So go ahead and get your tickets. That link is posted to the top of the chat. Hit the like button, man. Also subscribe to the channel. Let me bring up Lee. What's going on, brother? How you doing? You're on mute just so you know.
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing wonderful, man. Wonderful. Another day in the paradise, as they say.
For sure.
Yep. So,
Well,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
we've got another show, another week.
Yeah. You know what it is, man. Why don't you give the people a little brief description on what you're going to be talking about today?
Well, welcome back to another edition of Sage Talk. I'm your host, Lee. Today's topic really is what image do we as Black men want to project? And what I would say is, over the years, many people have been in charge of developing and projecting our image. We have stood by idly, doing nothing and saying nothing. I think this needs to change, and the time is now. Why do I say that? Well, with the new Color Purple movie coming soon, again, black women and major media will have a hand in crafting the 21st century Black man's image. And if the past is any indication of what's to come, it won't be good. Therefore, we need to go on the offensive and not reacting from a defensive posture, but proactively diffusing their campaign and launching our own campaign of the Black man's image. So, that's basically what I want this introductory conversation to touch on. I'm looking forward to us developing that from just a conversation to a more actionable step in the near future. But it has to begin somewhere.
Okay. I like that, man. Well, you heard it right here, man. What do you want the image of the Black man to look like? That's what we're going to be talking. That's what Lee's going to be discussing. Before we get the show started again, make sure you guys get them likes up. Also, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget, man, we live in Houston. Get your tickets pinned to the top of the chat. All right, I'm out, Lee.
Okay. Hey, good afternoon, everybody, again. Well, first, before we get started, I'd like to make a quick disclaimer. This discussion, overall, I would say nothing is ever in a conversation applies to all and or 100% of anyone or anything. So I don't want anyone to take anything offensively that it may apply to you specifically in any way, depending on how you may interpret what's said. But in general, it applies across the board uh, from what has been and what has been observed. So it applies to a degree, whether it's a majority or whether it's a minority, whether it's most or whether it's many. The point is, it does apply. So these are the things we're going to talk about. So first, I'd like to talk from the current state of the Black man's image. Now, I'm not looking to dig up a lot of the stuff that's been said over YouTube, but I'd just like to touch on a few things in general, and then we could build on the conversation. When we look at our image as Black men in general, what do we see? I guess that would depend on whose perspective we consider. But from a Black man's perspective, and from my point of view, from the media, they paint a picture basically of two types of Black men: those who are violent and those who are softer, more feminine type the face of the alternative lifestyle. I call them the alpha crew, not like masculinity, but alphabet, right? So that's usually the image that we see. Many times from some black women, you will hear, well, black men, they see us also in two distinct roles. The select guys, the ones women like to have their fun with, the usual suspects, rappers, athletes, entertainers, so forth. And then the ones they accumulate, once they accumulate too much baggage, usually children, debt, high body count, that's when they're looking for the nice guy, the guy that they want to step up and be a man. Then we have the community type of black men. You know, the blue collar guys, the educated guys, the men who are usually not chosen or selected at the top of the list, but whose job is to clean up the mess. And what do I mean by cleaning up the mess? I mean the stepdad type, you know, the football, basketball coaches, the guys that everybody likes when the dirty job has to get done to fix the problem that everyone can look back and see this is an issue. And then what I would like to say most is I think what's becoming more apparent, and lastly, what I would refer to as the Black Manosphere men, or what KS has so eloquently termed as HVM, high value men. The men women now desire, or say they desire, when it's time to settle down. The lifestyle that they have either imagined, seen, partaken to some part of their life, and then now they would like to settle down with a guy who can give them that on a more long-term perspective. The topic of over the past years, I'm sorry, this has been a topic over the past year. So I won't bore you guys with any of that in terms of high value because that's not my sphere of conversation. What I would like to bring to the conversation is something that is, I would think, more dynamic and which will lead into today's topic, the black man's image, who will decide, black men or someone else. And I think as that being the primary question, we really got to take a look at that. In my opinion, it's black men who should be directing the course for our community and our society, black society, that is. And of course, our image and how we're projected and how we're received. Over the next 50 years will determine whether what we do today and in the coming years, whether it's successful or whether it's not. I've outlined, I think, 3 or 4 things that I believe we as black men should either fall into as categories or we should be aiming for in terms of how we would want to project ourselves as accomplished. And I think, you know, a caste system would work very well for us as a people because it sets us up from a success as a benchmark to evaluate our stratosphere in the society and how we see ourselves and how others will see us. I've outlined what we would consider 4 or 5 different classes or castes. The working class, which are people who are primarily employees within society. And every society have a working class within itself. And that's probably, I would say, between 49 to 51% or greater in terms of the overall economy of that society. But then there's a trade class. And I think that's something we should focus on as Black men to develop and become better at. Obviously, you have tech in that class, you have electricians, construction, plumber, and many other technical hand skilled professions where the infrastructure of any society is built, maintained, and developed. But I think something that we should look at, which I don't hear much of, is particularly a merchant class. That's a business class of men that are importers and exporters, somewhat of an investor class, where we're doing business overseas with businesses in other countries throughout the earth, where we're establishing ourselves not only from our home country, but we're reaching across the globe and doing business with countries where their products can be of benefit in the United States market or wherever we may be. And obviously, we need to have a business class where we have business owners. And business owners can go anywhere from a small mom and pop shop in the community to something much larger, franchise, investors, and so forth. And lastly, I would think would be an executive class. An executive class would be made up of your white collar, more executive individuals such as lawyers, doctors, politicians, those who are billionaires, they're C Corp owners, VP, CEOs, and the like. This is where I see as Black men, we can begin to really lay an economic base for ourselves. And from that foundation, look to craft the image that we're going to project as a people group within Black America and throughout the world. Primarily as it pertains to athletes and entertainers, I would say they would be exempt from this system class simply because their wealth comes differently and it comes significantly sooner in life than most. Not over time as it is in most society. Besides, most of the times they usually have a team of individuals who craft their image depending on their career path and their specific expertise in the business genre that they may be in. Jara, if you haven't dropped the link yet, you can start to do so. I'm kind of winding down. So how do we go about uh, crafting our image? One, I think we should look at creating our own marketing campaign. We know everything is about image. So we need to create the image we want to become. We don't become it first. You create the image first and then you become it after. You need to reach for something and we need to sell it. We need to sell it within our community and to the broader community and to the generation coming up behind us. One of the reasons why the Cosby Show back in the 80s and 90s was so successful is because it was crafting a different image of Black men. The future, the future selves that we want to be able to see, we need to start building that now. We need to invest in ourselves and we need to project that image to the world. That's my proposal, and that's where the conversation, and from my opinion and my perspective, I'm looking forward to us having this conversation. Kosher Clinician, welcome to Sage Talk.
Thank you, brother. How you doing, sir? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. How you doing, sir?
You're coming in a little low.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Okay.
better.
How you doing? Let me hold
Very
you.
good. Very good.
Is that good? Is that good?
Uh, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. So
You might want to put the mic a little closer because
Okay,
Sound
hold
like
tight.
you're distant.
Hold tight. Let me look at these settings. Give me 1 minute, man. I apologize. Hold tight. So to add clarity to the conversation, this conversation is not only necessary, but
Are you speaking? Can't hear you.
okay, hold tight. Hold tight. Can you hear me now? Testing, testing.
Okay, can hear that.
You can or you can't? Can you hear me?
Speak up. Turn the volume up a little. We can hear you, but it's kind of up and down.
Yeah. Hold tight. Hold tight. Is that better? Can you hear
Say
me?
something more consistent.
Is that better? Can you hear me? Can
You're
you hear
very
me?
low. Yeah, I can hear you, but you're very low.
I don't know why. I don't know why.
Yeah, we can. I can hear you pretty good. It
You can
just
hear him good?
keeps.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
well, I
ahead.
can. I can hear him. The thing is that it goes down. So just make sure to just bring the mic a little bit closer to see if that's where the inconsistency is happening. That.
Yeah, I don't know why it's doing this, man. I got it turned all the way up. I'm on the. Yeah, I got to fix these settings, man.
Yeah, like I don't know if you have a like a plan B as far as when the sound is doing that, but I would probably go to the plan B if you do have it because it's looking like it's gonna be going up and down.
Okay. So basically, what I'm saying at this point right now is that we need to develop a plan for Black men going forward. 2022 has to be groundbreaking. It has to be an earthquake type shift as to how we as Black men are prepared to move. We can't no longer sit back and let others, whether it be our lovely sisters, the larger society, or any other ethnicity that come to America, dictate, pigeonhole, and put us in some type of a non-productive image class group that does not benefit us. And for those among us who are comfortable in the place where they are, whatever that place where they may be in terms of their productiveness or lack thereof in our community, like I said on King Talk the other night, I'm not really looking to change the minds of men who are set in their ways or who are limited thinkers. I'm looking for men that are looking to make a change in society, a change for themselves, who are reaching for something bigger and better, who are tired of living or existing just getting by, who want to be, who want to create the life that they live and not have that life created for you from the day that before you were born, and you're just placed in that box and you've got nowhere to go until you live, grow up, marry, or whatever you do, and die. As Black men, we live in the most powerful, most wealthiest country in the world. And I think it's about time that we as Black men take hold of the power that we have that is right before us and wield it, as opposed to everyone else bludgeoning us over the head with it, and we just act as though we have no way to control our outcomes in our lives. It's time for us to wield power as well. And that begins basically with taking control of our day-to-day life, the choices that we make, take responsibility for it, set goals and set our goals big. And really the people that are around you, one man at a time, you can have a small conversation. And if that brother is open to the conversation, you just recruited another brother to the team that's positive, that's looking to change his image. If he's not positive, just keep stepping. It's not about changing nobody's mind. It's about finding brothers of like-minded. Okay, coach, it's clinician. I see you're back. Talk to me
Can you hear me, brother? Can you hear me?
loud and clear.
Yeah. It's something with my other system. I got two systems going on. But anyway, so this conversation is very important, Sage Talk. I think it's very important because there are a lot of competing factors that are in play that's trying to decimate the image of the black man. And the thing about projecting image is that we have what's called tribalism in the conquest of shaping the image of the black man. At one time, due to Jim Crow racism and slavery, black men were unified as one. But we have been very fragmented now based on the competing factions that don't seek to advance the cause of the black man, the black family, or the black community. And sadly, a percentage, and I say a percentage, of our women have been compromised and have been saboteurs of their own ignorance, which in essence causes us to have these current conversations that we're having now. Listen, it always starts with a movement. Sometimes that movement can start with a few. But then with that few, it goes to something even bigger. And there was a time when the image of the black man, even though we were under the pillages and the ravages of Jim Crow racism, we were more advantageous because we projected strength, we projected values, and we projected things that were more or less beneficial to the function of the black man, the black family, and the community. But now there are so many competing factions that you talked about earlier, that are seeking to decimate and or erase the image of the black man, that it's going to be a Herculean effort. I'm not going to say it can't be done, but it's going to be Herculean nonetheless because we are not monolithic as black people. We weren't even monolithic when we came on the slave ship, but we were forced into oneness. So I agree with you. It's going to take black men of the same like mind and the same consciousness to get together. And as I say on my show from time to time, I say as men, we may not agree on all things or ideologies, but we do have a commonality in our struggle that more or less says that we must come together to more or less formulate a plan that's going to help us become the better versions of ourselves, because there is a crisis in masculinity that needs to be addressed.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Marvelous opinion. Welcome.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sir. How you doing, sir? I was going to add that when it comes to our image, it's really one of those things that I don't want to say can't be fixed, but it comes down to the first image that you should look at is yourself in the mirror, in my opinion. The first person you should be examining is self, and how you go about being yourself, understanding who you are and being your true self. You have to first learn to accept that first. You know what I'm saying? If you don't love yourself, you can't love other people. You know what I'm saying? I think there is a lack of that amongst a lot of people in general, that people are moving about in a way that, honestly, in my opinion, is they're making assumptions. People are more impulsive. People are not going by what they know. They're going by what they feel.
Right.
And they don't ask questions. Like, you feel something, you should utilize that. Your curiosity. The things that you feel, you should question and challenge things. But some people just take the things they feel and just ride with it off the pre-assumptions and preconceived notions that I believe make them very narrow-minded in the way they view things, the way they take things, the way they decide with things. I'm very curious about a lot of things. I'm always asking questions. If I feel something, that's when I go within and say, where is this coming from? You know what I'm saying? Some people don't have that in them, the patience and discipline to ask questions and to not go uninformed. But I believe a lot of people are making uninformed decisions as they move forward in life. But it starts with themselves, first challenging themselves before they can challenge the world. I think once people, men in particular, have to build themselves up properly, by start with themselves, then you can start to see the process of people flourishing in a way. But it starts with the individual from the ground up before you can actually build upon people. The people themselves have to be strong-minded, strong-willed, strong-spirited. If they're weakened, how can you build an empire with that? That's my opinion.
Okay, well taken. You're right. Obviously, it starts with oneself, right? How you perceive yourself within and without. I think one of the things as black men that we have to do is we have to broaden our scope. You know, one thing I've learned from working around white people is that when their children comes out of the university, usually within the first year or two, they travel the world. They go to Europe, they backpack, they go to Africa, they work as missionaries. They do things in the first 1 to 3 years of their life to kind of like figure it out. And they learn to make that theoretical knowledge that they have learned in school and then get a taste of life and see how and where they want to apply it. They already come from a position where wherever they go in the earth, they're either ruling in those places or their influential reach and footprint is so large that even if they're not there in the heads of state, there's another country that represent them that have a heavy hand in that society or in that country. So that's an advantage that they have. So their self-image is well placed within the earth. I think for us as a people, though, it's important that we, particularly black men, whether you're from New York, Boston, whether you're from Atlanta, whether you're from California, DC, wherever you're from in the US, I think it's important that every black man every year take at least 2 weeks to a month, depending on your career and your job, and travel outside the United States. And I'm not talking about traveling for sex, and I'm not talking about traveling for women. That's when you're young, that's your mindset, right? Or some men mindset, not all. Because I was traveling when I was young, but that was never my goal or objective. Right. But I'm not going to tell another man what to do.
Right.
But however, I will suggest that you travel, because as you travel, it gives you a different vantage point to see the world from. One of the things when you travel, especially in third world countries where a lot of us like to mock and insult the people of those countries, coming from the United States is almost like traveling back in time. You literally get to see the future of where these countries can be in the next 20, 25 years. And when you come from that level of advantage and you have the economics where the dollar, the power of the dollar, or whether you're from Europe, the power of the euro can exponentially give you leverage in the economy of those countries, you look for opportunities where you're able to invest in, buy, and own. And the more black men start to see the world as bigger than just the United States, I think it's going to be far more advantage for us to be able to understand what real power we really have in terms of the leveraging of our dollar. That's another thing I would like to discuss, maybe not on this conversation, but in a future conversation, how we can literally use the leveraging of our buying power. Because we spend a lot of money, but sometimes it seems like the dollar in our hands is like hot coal. We can't wait to shake it out of our hands. But we don't find the leverage of utilizing our dollar, saving, investing, and buying within to build within a market within Black America. And that's something that what we do, we make others rich. Everyone come from around the world, set up a business in a Black community, and in 5 to 10 years, they're rich. Their sons and daughters are going to private schools, they're going to private top universities, and then they insult us and they treat us like we're crap and they don't respect us. And that's because we don't have no leverage. And the only way we're going to get leverage is by us broadening and understanding who we are and the power that we have. Kosher clinician, would you like to add something to that?
There's an evolutionary process that we got to go through that first starts with more or less creating strong nuclear families that are intact, but families where the men are actually projecting power and strength. Tavis Smiley said it better than me. He said that when white America gets a cold, Black America gets the flu. And the point is, there's not only an attack on heteronormative masculinity as it relates to a Black man perspective, it's an attack on heteronormative masculinity as it relates to a man perspective. And so there's a lot of uncovering that needs to happen before we can recover as a people. There have been years, Sage Talk, of social conditioning that's more or less broken the spirit of black men and men in general, but has caused them to be in a state of disrepair. And so until we can go back and find out what that uncovering is, which is a lot of times is predicated in the mental health field, as I, as a licensed therapist, seek to do, then some of the things that we're talking about can be foolhardy because you got to address the issue, which is the pathology in the mind and the image that's often projected of black men in America, and those saboteurs that seek to undermine the masculinity of black men, the good brothers that you talked about. We're not talking about peons, dusty guys, and guys that are, shiftless and aimless, but we're talking about good blue-collar black men that in other countries would be men of valor. We're talking about white-collar professionals, good brothers. We're talking about average height brothers. We're talking about those men that have more or less given their virtues and their talents to America. But many times their talents are trampled upon because we have a very sickening mentality in America that says he's not enough. And so I say that we got to release the king within many young men, but there are so many barriers that are still in place, Sage Talk Lee, because with 80% of our children being born in single-parent homes, a select few of men, not by a large percentage of men, it's causing a lot of social chaos. And I see it all the time as a licensed therapist. So we got to go back and uncover what we need to recover in order to move forward. I think that we can have a small cadre of men that can come together and start working together to reformulate the image of the black man. But it's going to take some time. It's going to be a war of attrition. And so there are so many competing factors that are at play. Can it be done? Perhaps. But it's going to be a lot of work, in my opinion.
I wanted to add that I was talking to Tia over on Anton's network, but one thing Tia did bring up, I believe that we have an issue with in our community is class. Mm-hmm. The problem I really do see is class and culture. We are not a monolith, but we do view and talk about ourselves monolithically. We actually do have divides, and people have different standards, practices, tongues, religion, all that within your image. The thing is that when it comes to our image being portrayed on the massive stage, they've always done this, but they do take the bottom of the barrel. They take people from the lower class and prop them up. They take literally turd and spray it painted with gold and say, look at this. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's more of, it's a tactic. It's sly, right? But it's like we're always going to have people who are going to they're the most easiest prey. The people who are downtrodden and unfortunate, they're going to be utilized in that manner. It's always going to be that way. We can't stop them from utilizing us in that way. Even when it comes to, like, I noticed a while back on Facebook, I think it was last year, I noted this. It kind of cleared up a little bit, but I noticed it when it was hot. When they started censoring certain things on Facebook, but they weren't censoring black people's images. Like, you see black people doing the most crazy, horrendous things to each other, and it wouldn't be no, graphic content label on that stuff. On our stuff, it was just out there, like it was normalized. Everyone else, no matter what it is, it was always saying graphic nature. You might want to click on this, or make sure you click on this, it's going to be violent or something like that. But I noticed when it came to our content that showed our image, there was no warning label. They just allowed everyone to see it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I picked on little things like that, but it's starting to clear up a little bit. But then I say, like, we want our image to be better, but yet there's a lot of us kind of laughing at our pain. And it's like, we can't just laugh it off all the time. We got to take it serious. If y'all really want to do something about it, you need to police each other. But that's what I told you, like, we're not monolithic. It's a class thing. So you got people in classes that, hey, this is normality. This is nothing for us. We can laugh this off. This is ha-ha. Then you have those in the middle. It's kind of like, well, I think we can do a little better. I have some standards. You have high class people who are well beyond, the ones who usually look down on other people in a way, who would say they are better. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot that's going on in our community, but we do have to understand one thing. There is class amongst the black people, and the ones that's being celebrated are actually the lower class. Like, even, I don't want to talk about him, but he's a good, perfect example. Tia brought it up, was we had Jim Jones, who is low class, and the way his mentality is and everything, how he carries himself, his manners, his disciplines, he's not a high class person. Even though he has money that's high class, how he carries himself, who he is, how he puts himself out there, is not in a way that I would assume he had money. I would assume he was just like where he come from, in the gutter. You know what I'm saying? His class and mentality did not change. The way he makes money may have elevated, but who his character is, his elevation has not changed. And we have these people in leadership positions, and then they'll get on platforms and say, "Look at me, man. I'm still being treated like dog-ish," and it's like because I'm black or whatever. And I personally can't say if that is or if not the case, but the fact is this: there was a black guy that was there serving him and was disregarding him because of how he was acting. Now you can say, like I said, people can nitpick, but I personally don't like to go off assumptions and what I feel. Like, oh, I feel he was hating. I feel it was just like, no, no, go with what you know. You know that this guy acts a certain way. You know he's in a place where they don't tolerate low class people. You have to be in a higher echelon to be VIP at a Gucci store. You know they're not taking riffraff, but it is what it is, though. That's just my opinion, though. Looking at the culture.
Well, I would say this. One of the things I think in general is that I'm talking about really a professional business class, executive class of men, black men. And I think for the past 50 years, 60 years, we have just sat back silently, not voicing ourselves as to what image we want to project of us. For those that want to project themselves in the way in which they have, let them. It's not for us to craft their image. They profit and benefit from what they do. Let them. Our job is to become more proactive in crafting our image and how we want to be perceived. The thing is that we have not given society at large, not only black society, but the overall society of America, we have not given them a choice with regard to the different type of black men that exists. Yes, we're not a monolith, but the bottom line is we're perceived as such because we have sat back silently and allow those who behave in the way in which they do and where the media promote that behavior and give it more showtime, and we just quietly say, oh, that's not me, so it doesn't affect me, so that's not me. But you know what? It does affect us. And we have come to realize at this point of 2022 that it does affect us. And it's time that we take active measures to promote ourselves and make our megaphone louder than those who have had the stage for quite some time. I don't think it can't be done. I'm sure it can be done. And why I believe it can be done and it won't be a Herculean task is because we now have the ability to show forth our own image. We don't need to go to the major white media to show forth our image. We can do that on a telephone. We can do that on YouTube. We could do that on Facebook. We could do that on Google. There's so many different medias right now, and day by day are growing where we have control over the image we project. There are those who will be entertained by foolishness. Everybody likes a good laugh. I like a good laugh from time to time myself. But how much time are you going to spend allowing that level of entertainment to consume you? If you're going to promote that kind of uh, low class way of the black man's image, then you can't complain about when people see you in a certain way. You have to promote the image that you want to see. And what we're doing here with Sage Talk and the Lapeef Network is we're going to build a team. We're going to build a marketing arm that's going to change black men going forward. And within the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to see the power of image. That's what I'm saying. Meek, talk to me.
Let me unmute. Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Good afternoon. So I think, right, that there's multiple things that we first have to realize before we could even start start changing our image, because see, I think a lot of us think that our image is fine. And you know one thing that I've realized is that the way that we do things, the way that we think this is normal, it's actually dysfunction. And when you try to bring this to people, there's a pushback on it. And once they're pushing back, like they can't see what's going on, they're busy pushing back. And I read a couple years ago, I read a I was reading an article, and the article said when you keep someone wrapped up in their traumas, they don't move forward. And there's a concerted effort to keep us wrapped up in the traumas so we don't move forward.
I
See,
have a question for you.
go ahead.
Are you wrapped up in your trauma?
Am I wrapped up in my trauma? Well, if you knew the guy I was, no. But for me, well, I am. For me to have this conversation, I'm most likely not wrapped up in my trauma because I understand what that looks like. And I understand the damage that it does. And I understand how it keeps us from moving forward. So I'm
Well,
going to have
don't
to say
speak in a
no.
don't speak in a plural sense. Speak in a singular sense as it pertains to you.
Okay, as it pertains to me, no. At one point, I was. At one point, when I was younger, I believed the narrative. As I got older, you start to see different things, especially the type of family that I came from. So, no, I'm not wrapped up in my trauma. I understand what's going on. I also understand the politics that they offer us. See, if we start listening closely, the politics they offer us is politics of failure.
Well, the thing is whatever you listen to over and over, day in, day out, is what you will embrace.
Absolutely.
If you don't listen to it, if you tune it out, it's not going to have no effect on you. You could be
Absolutely.
aware of it, that it's there and what its functionality is, but it's not going to have an altering effect in your perspective and the things that you do. So
Absolutely.
it's what you allow in to you as a man that's going to control you. If you
Yep.
don't allow it in, it's not going to control you. That's why there's some black men that racism seem to hold black back, and there's some black men that racism doesn't seem to affect. Now it affects us maybe on some grander scale, but in their day-to-day life, racism don't affect certain men because they don't allow it into their existence. Z, welcome to the conversation.
How you doing?
Good afternoon.
How's it going, fellas? Yeah, I think what you saying, Meek, is it's true, but it's like would you can't just sit back and just say, oh, yeah, we wrapped up in our trauma and that's why this and that's why that. When like Sage said, I mean, Mr. Lee said, some black men that don't affect. You got to adopt those behaviors. You got to change in order so you can survive. That's what it is. That's what life's all about. Survival of the fittest.
So when I'm saying like honestly, I'm not talking about me because like I'm a plumber. I honestly live a pretty good life, you know what I mean? And I'm not bragging, but I don't let everyday racism affect me. Like I'm not out there on that type of time because I understand that right there is wrapped up in a trauma and being held back, right? So I think that we need to get on a grand scale, black people to understand that staying in that, raising your fist and doing all of that. I mean, that's nice, but that ain't moving us forward.
Well, I
Yeah,
would say I would say this. I would say this. The language that we use also is very impactful and dynamic with us. When we use terms like wrapped up in our trauma, those are self-defeating words.
mhm.
So you have to limit those type of conversations that you have and the word choice that you select.
Okay.
The public marching and display of false unity for things that offends us, that may be one form of expressing frustration, but I think a lot of the effectiveness uh, of those display are weeding out more and more over time. That came from a different era. That came from the era of the 60s, the 50s and the 60s. We're in the 21st century. How are we going to fight? And the fight is all about image and media. And how do we go about changing the minds of our people? You look to the left of you and you look to the right of you, and you get a man that's moving the way you're moving. And that man
Yeah.
looked to the left of him and the right of him, and he get another man moving the way he's moving. And when you come across those who are not moving on your level,
Keep it moving.
don't take it personal. You don't have to insult the brother. He just ain't ready. He have not seen enough to make his mind believe that it's possible. There's some men that don't believe certain things are possible. There were some people that didn't believe a black president could be when we had one. Whether he was beneficial or not, there was a time people never thought that seeing a black president in the United States, they would not live long enough to see that. Well, you know what? That happened. So what
It's going.
else is possible if we as black men begin to think the impossible? Kosher clinician, you're muted.
Well, I don't know who muted me. Can you hear me?
Might have been JR. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Right. So, like I said, man, I think everything that we're trying to formulate and implement in these turbulent times, I think is excellent. I'm not against it. I'm very positive. I do believe it's time to change the image of black men. I do believe it's time for us to start projecting what our ancestors projected years ago, true to the men that are on the back of this screen. There was a time in the 40s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s when men, especially black men, exuded a level and a decorum. But as I said earlier, and I want to make sure I'm clear when I say this, and I'm going to be the devil's advocate. Some will argue, sagely, that our thought processes are more or less utopian, that there are too many restrictions that can more or less impede the level of advancement that we need. But the optimist would argue that even though there are many barriers to our success, we can have a modicum of what successful black men look like. So it depends on how we're trying to gauge or more or less scale this thing. Are we looking at it at the macro level, which is the highest level? Are we looking at the meso level, which is the group level? Or are we looking at it within ourselves? So I'm for it. I'm very optimistic. I do believe in it. But I'm a realist at the same time. And like I said, there are competing factors, there are competing policies that are seeking to subvert the things that you, I, JR, and a lot of masculine men talk about. The black masculine man or black men are the new boogeyman. Masculinity is the new boogeyman. And some might say, well, not talk negative. No, I'm not talking negative. I'm talking reality because I've been through it myself. But at the same time, I do agree with you that you should not continue to mire in victimhood, mire in trauma, and mire in pointing fingers. Because like the great C.S. Lewis said, you can't stop a bird from flying over your head, which is racism, but you can stop that bird from landing the nest on top of your head. So my whole point is some of our people need to go through therapy. They need therapy. They need to be reformulated. They need to have their schema modified. And until we get to some of the more salient issues which start with the mind, even though these ideas are very good, to say the least, there still can be some levels of distress that keep us from taking it, in my opinion, to optimal levels.
Well,
I want to ask something.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, do you think that, and this is a question for everyone here, do you think that moving based on our image could be problematic? In the sense of, if you look towards your image, like for me, I didn't grow up with that mindset of like limiting my own abilities by seeing my image and saying that I can't do something because I didn't see it done by someone who looks like me. I never had that mindset coming up as a child. You know
Right.
But for those who do have that mindset, You know what I'm saying? Because they're moving on the operation of their image, and it causes. Remember, I told you before, people give into their feelings. It's more of what they feel and what they don't really know. So they're going off the preconceived notion that I am black, so this is going to mean that this, and that. Or if I get pulled over by the cops, this is what's going to possibly happen. You know what I'm saying? You're making preconceived notions and judgments on things that have not occurred yet, but you're going off the feeling that this can occur.
Right.
It's like you know these things can happen. Of course, everything that we know that there's lots of possibilities, but should you make decisions based on things that you don't even know yet? You know what I'm saying? And then like how you limit yourself in your abilities to go in places, you're like, oh, I can't go there because of this or that. And it's like, have you ever even took a step forward in that area? Have you even done it? Have you questioned it?
Right.
Because right now you're going off a preconceived notion, you're not going in the known. You're going being uninformed. You know what I'm saying? And like, if you want to move in life, you have to be informed. You have to ask questions.
Right.
You can't go in this direction because this is what I feel my image is based upon. I got to move like this because of my image. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to. You choose to because that's the preconceived notion you have in your mind. You're kind of narrowing your scope a little bit. And also, I was also going to say something too. What Mr. Lee was saying. I'm saying as you build yourself up, build your character, and you come amongst those who are more like-minded, are you also going to limit yourself in that aspect? Or are you only going to look towards people who look like yourself in the sense of like who can rock with you, who can't rock with you? Like you may have your favors, you know, you may favor those in your image, and that's no problem. I have no problem with that. You should want to uplift people who look like you because you know the situation of how people are. But it's like, are you going to literally say to yourself, like, you know what? I can only rock with you. I can't rock with you because of how you look. If it's going to build you, it's going to build your character. It's going to build up your image, but it's also a reflection of all those who look like you. At the end of the day, is how I look at it. You know what I'm saying? So I would say never limit yourself based on just your image. You still a walk of representation everywhere you go. I represent a lot just of who I am. I represent my mom, my father, my culture, my country, and the Navy I work for. You know what I'm saying? I got so much under my umbrella of representation. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, yes, it's still me, but I still have to project myself in a way that gives all that what it deserves and what it reflects positively. You know what I mean?
Well, I think there's a lot when it comes to the image that really this conversation entails. You know, some black men can't have a conversation and disagree without escalating it to the point where violence become the solution.
I agree.
When I talk about crafting an image of black men, I'm talking about black men who can engage one another and can have strong ideas and opinions, but at the same time can end the conversation and still realize we are brothers and we're moving maybe in different directions, but our goal is the same.
Right.
To better ourselves and to better our community and to better our worldview and those who see us. And though we may take different paths and we may have different points of view about it, it doesn't mean I lose any respect for you as a man.
Yes, sir.
And you
Right.
lose any respect for me as a man.
I totally agree.
And I think too often as black men, we're unable to do that.
Right.
We can't see, you know, we like to use the word kings, and I'll use that loosely today because it's not a word that's part of my vernacular. We like to refer to each other as kings, but we don't give the same respect to one another. We only one king can live at the same time is the way in which we move in our community. And the minute another brother say, look, or do the wrong thing that we find to be offensive, he's got to go.
Right. I agree.
And I think that's one of the images that we have to tear down as black men, because that's a black man that is emotional, like a woman. An
Can I just-
emotional man is a dangerous man to himself and to others around him. It's like having a pit bull that is untrained and extremely aggressive. No one can control him, including his master. And as a man, you must first definitely learn to understand what's your image, what the image is that you want to project of yourself. The broader image of black men globally, that will translate itself over time. But you must start with a nucleus first to make the image change. And the change that I'm going for, obviously, is a global image of black men. But it must start first at a nucleus. And the nucleus will be of like minded black men. Though we may have multiple things that we may differ on, we agree on this one thing. And if we can agree on one thing and move on one accord with one thing, whether it's 10 of us, 100 of us, 1,000 of us, 100,000 of us, or a million of us, we will move the planet. Because black men's lingo, black men's rap and culture is worldwide. Our vernacular is in every facet of the America, politics, the world. I can listen to any station from any part of the earth. And if they speak English, their black language being spoken out of them, whether it's politics, whether it's business, or whether it's just entertainment. We are doing that.
Right.
We are doing that because we don't even know the control and the power that we have.
Right.
But marketing and the people that have power are doing that for their benefit. What if we were to take control of that ourselves and start to turn the wheels of power and influence and imagery and our language, and we speak it the way we want to speak it, and we project it the way we want to project it? What if we can do that for ourselves? But we have to start somewhere. And one of the things start is with this conversation and with like-minded men that tune in to Sage Talk to start to frame a mindset. Everything begins with a mindset. If you don't have a mindset, someone else is putting a mindset in you. And too long, many black men have sat back knowingly or unknowingly and just accepted the mindset that have been placed in us. Like Marvelous Opinion was saying earlier about so many men that grow up in a society where they don't even know how to think for themselves. They can only take the opinions and the ideas that was already marketed to them before they were even born. There are some men that don't think that way from young children. Cousin Joey, welcome to the conversation. Welcome to Sage Talk.
Hey, Sage Talk, how you doing, man?
Very good.
All right. Hey, Marvelous Opinion, what's going on, guys? I was just plugging in just to see what the conversation was, man. Looked like a bunch of intelligent brothers sitting back holding the conversation. And I was just thinking to myself while listening to y'all, you know what I'm saying? I think that we should spend, now, this is from a brother that was born in the 70s, so you have to excuse me being a little outdated, but I believe that critical thinking is probably going to be one of the things that we need to concentrate on when it comes to the black community, especially among black males, because men don't internalize feelings the same way that it, that women do. So you have to be a very concise and educated critical thinker to make sure that you be able to tamper down on those impulsive behaviors that we have the tendency to show, when we in our feelings, especially when it's time to be a thug or it's time to be, man, I'm about it, or whatever vernacular people want to use. So if we could concentrate on sending the message without feelings, making sure that it's a critical thinking, and then we exercise that message among ourselves and we keep on doing it over and over and over again, where we create, granted, I know echo chamber is a bad term on the internet, but if we can create our own echo chamber, so sometimes we get off script, we can walk back into our echo chamber, get our minds back right, and go back out here and start doing the work that we need to do to make sure that our how we look is better in those 3 to 5 years Sage Talk was talking about.
Absolutely. That's a very good point you made. But I will say this, critical thinking is something that definitely needs to be taught at an earlier age when you're in elementary, junior high school and coming up as you grow older. For grown men who are walking around today that may not understand the functionality and the deducing of critical thinking, that's where imagery needs to come into play. Through media, we can craft different type of conversation where critical thinking is expressed and current behavior is expressed. And we can demonstrate by showing them the two forms of how black men can reason amongst one another.
That's
And that
true.
can be
Say,
done through that can be done through short scripts. There are many different YouTube channels that I see where guys are producing different type of scripts. A
well, no,
lot of it
that's
is
not that's
entertainment.
not what
One moment,
that,
one moment.
that's
Let me
not.
just clear my thought.
Yes, sir.
Most of it is entertainment based and emotional based to trigger black men in the environment of which we live. But like you said, critical thinking is something that you have to see demonstrated. If you're a grown man and you don't have critical thinking skills, you need to be able to witness critical thinking happening. And that's something that through image we can communicate. With this
But
new
what
media, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, what I was saying is because of the panel that you have right now, I'm looking at five other brothers that are critical thinkers. And what I'm saying is we're the best way to be a critical thinker is to be uncomfortable. Do you understand that? I mean, whether the level of comfortability is or not where we at right now, I don't know any of you guys. So I'm a, I'm a little uncomfortable holding a conversation with guys that I don't have access to. You're outside of my dynamics. You're not within, the people that I have to personally deal with. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what your opinion of me is going to be. So there's a level of uncomfortableness. But you also have to understand that because of critical thinking, that gives you the ability to be able to hold conversations with people that you don't know that are not in the same hemisphere that you're in. And because of that, it makes the being uncomfortable makes it mandatory that you become a critical thinker. Like for instance, me talking to you, Sage, talk is going to make me go reread Marcus Garvey. Me talking to you, Marvelous Opinion, is going to probably make me go back and look at the stuff that I did when I was in the Marine Corps. You feel me? You have to. It reminds you of things that makes you say to yourself, you know what? Where am I limited at, and how can I make myself more vast?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
want I want to say something, right? So you see what Marvelous Opinion said? That is what I meant by there's a certain type of politics being sold to us. This you can't do. This because of this. That's what's actively being sold to us.
But
And go ahead.
understood. The thing is that what I'm saying is that we need to have a contra campaign. There's only one message being sent to us, and it's by those who don't have our best for
That's
us
100%.
in their intentions.
But we don't have to
So,
buy
as
into it.
as true, and there are many of us who have the ability to not be influenced by it, but there's a larger majority that are not prepared and are not able or capable to resist the programming and to participate. Right.
But maybe we need
So
to start advertising.
the key is that we must now create a contra campaign to be able to offer black men a new perspective, something else to choose, as opposed to, do you want rice or do you want rice and beans? Do you want beef or do you want chicken? And what I'm saying is that I'm making it simple with regard to food because it's something that we all understand when it comes to, uh, when we go out to eat, what we like and what we don't like. But my
Exactly.
point is if all we get all day long is a negative image of ourselves, and we don't put forth anything as an option or a second option, then we're leaving it to the mercy of our children to be able to either accept or resist. And there
Or
are
we're
very
leaving it to
few
the mercy
men.
of other influencers.
Say again.
I said, or we're leaving it to the mercy of other influencers. And those influencers could be negative. They could be the monsters hiding under the bed.
Absolutely. And a lot of people are just in it for the money. So you do what's profitable,
Yes,
right?
sir.
But
Yes,
what I'm
sir.
saying is that for us as black men, we need to be able to do multiple things at the same time. We need to
Yes,
be
sir.
able to do things that generate money, but we also need to do things that uplift us because we
And
know in the end how we're perceived globally, nationally, has its effect on opportunities that may open up for us and that we can make moves within. So it's
Ca-
in our best interest to be uh, to be action oriented, to be able to influence the dynamic in the terms of how we are perceived as men, and not
Well, we've been
allow.
influencing culture since NWA, so I think it's time for us to take the reins, I guess. Just
Can,
I
can,
think.
Absolutely, you're
can I say
absolutely
one
right
thing
there, and
about?
that's a perfect interjection because we have allowed a certain segment to influence the culture for the past 30, 40 years. And
Yes,
I
sir.
mean, we can't sit back and just complain and talk about it and not do anything about it. And like I've said since I've been on this channel, I'm really the type of guy that, from my past experience business wise, I have made a lot of money being a doer, not just a talker.
I agree.
Talking gets me in the door, but performing is what keeps me in and make you do better.
Can
And
I
like I
say
said,
something?
I'm looking for men, whether it be a small team and over time we build something great and bigger, but I'm looking for men that are tired of just sitting around and having a conversation.
Well,
Men
hey,
who are
Sage,
fed
can I
up
say something
and
right
are
quick?
ready to take it to the next level. Coach, your
Hey, Sage,
clinician.
can I say something real quick? I just want to say this,
Go
and
ahead.
then I'm gonna get off, and so you can get other people on. Hey, bro,
Sure.
cousin Joy P, I'm right here. I wouldn't be on here, especially since I've been following y'all on the Lapeef Network for the last year. So anything that I can contribute, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, man. I like literally am a skilled trades worker. I'm a master skilled trades worker. I've gotten people jobs. I live in Columbus, Ohio.
Awesome.
If there's anything that you would like for me to do, any research you would like for me to get to you, or any other stuff, if I need to just sit down and fly out to sit down with some kids that you want, so I can tell them what it takes to be a lineman, electrician, or instrumentation technician, somebody that cleans water, somebody that welds metal, I got you covered. And I also have an engineering degree. So there are a lot of people that are out here that are exceptionally educated, just so y'all know. And what you do is you settle in on what makes you more comfortable and happy. And what makes me happy is I've always been a civil servant. Marvelous opinion, I'm telling you, bro. Is once you get that in you, it is what it is. And I've always been a
Absolutely.
civil servant, and I love what I do. I might not like the people I do it with, but I love what I do. And I just want to leave y'all with that, man. And thank you, gentlemen, for allowing me to
Thank
speak.
you.
All right.
Absolutely. Thank you. And we will be calling on you. So stay tuned.
Yes, sir.
Can I say something right quick? The
Go right ahead.
So like what you guys were just alluding to, the image that we as black men project, because a lot of people would like to say it's the image that's projected about us, but that's just not true. You know what I'm saying? The only reason that they so-called project, well, the only reason they think that it's projection is because it sells, but the only reason they're selling it is because people are buying it. You know what I mean? So it's not that the record label or the movie industry is just projecting this stuff. Like they making people make this type of art. People are choosing to make this type of art because it sells. You know what I mean? So like if
But it's also only one type being promoted.
no,
So
so that's what
when
I'm.
you
No,
spend tens
my
of
point.
millions, hold on
Yeah,
one
go ahead.
second.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
When you spend tens of millions advertising on every genre of the airwaves and the television and video, that's a compounding effect over and over and over and over and over. And over time, that will bear fruit within the society and it's going to have an effect. There are very few people, male or female, that have the resistance capacity to be able to withstand that kind of onslaught of billions of dollars of investment. Perfect example. There was a time when every 24th frame in a movie theater was an advertisement for Coca-Cola or popcorn. And they had to make that illegal because it was subliminal suggestion to the mind.
Right.
So there are ways of putting things in your head to make you act upon it over time.
I understand that. Only thing I'm saying is the way that people talk about it in these on these airwaves, at least, it makes it seem as though that the people who spending that money are going to the artist saying this is the type of music you have to make. Those artists are making that type of music. You know what I'm saying? And then the company saying this music sells, so we're gonna put money behind it so that it can sell even more. Like that's all I'm saying. Because if you go to a different genre of music, you know what I'm saying, country music, you know what I'm saying, they got all types of
Well,
country. They got all types of country music, but what sells the most? You know what I'm saying?
well, music and athleticism and the general entertainment industries was not really where this conversation was going to be focused on. Like I said, people spend and they have teams crafting their image and what they want to promote.
Mm-hmm.
I think as a promotion to the black community at large, we need to start promoting an alternative to just the baller, the rapper, the
Yep.
drug dealer, and so forth. We need to promote something that is as effective and as successful so our young boys coming up can look at the different images of black men and choose something successful if they're not in going towards an athleticism or entertainment field. And our young women and young girls can look at other types of men to make a choice where they can have a successful life and build a family other than just seeing one genre of men promoted and think that that's the end all to be all if you want to have a good life in some way or another. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I
Mr.
totally agree with
Oh,
that.
Mr. Lee, I want to add on to this little conversation. Still on the topic of people or image. I think a lot of people are being moved in a way because well, first you said the mindset's one thing, but the one part of the mindset people have is this easy living mentality that it's just you can make things easy, and that's a huge problem because it's a lie. It's a huge lie. Actually, it's like one of the biggest tricks ever played because when you think about it, living is not supposed to be easy. But that's the thing we saw everyone. Life could be so easy if you just do this, if you just do that. And when everyone has that mindset, they feel entitled. You know what I'm saying? And it's really hard to break people out of that mold. You know, why people get lazy and all those things. These are just symptoms of what's going on. You saw them that pitch that it could just be so simple if you just do this, this, and this. I mean, it's more than just that. Life is about survival. At the end of the day, life is a decision making process. You know, and a lot of people are not disciplined in anything really. It's just more like just getting by. Like you're saying, people just getting by, and they settling. Like I posted like 2 years ago, 2019, that or 2019 going 2020. I said, yo, I was too comfortable last year. You know what I'm saying? I gotta start getting uncomfortable. And some people took offense to what I said because they look at my lifestyle and say, "You living pretty good. Why are you complaining?" I'm like, because there's no growth in this. Yeah, I know I got more than most people, but there ain't no growth in this. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm stunning my own growth by being too comfortable. And that's the thing. People, no matter what age, especially young people, I don't know why they got this mentality where it's like, I gotta get it, I gotta get it, I gotta get this lifestyle, trying to be young and rich and live lavishly at age 20, 21, 25 and stuff. And it's like, bro, like you haven't even lived yet. And you're already trying to stunt your
Well,
growth. It's
well,
a lot of that going on.
that's based on the image just projected before them. That's my point. The only image they see is the baller, the rapper, and the entertainer of some sort who are making millions of dollars, or at least projecting the effect that they're making millions of dollars at an early age, and that this is the life that you can have. And there's no other contrary projection of what life is really all about. So they're growing up seeing this 6, 7 years old, 9, 10 years old. They're seeing it on their computer, they're seeing it on their television, they see it on their phone. They're being bombarded. So that's all they have when they have as a perspective. And coming from single family homes, their parents don't have time, their mother don't usually have the time to sit down with a child and school them and spend time with them and nurture them. They're leaving it up to these technology devices to raise their kids so they have time to do whatever it is that they might want to do when they just, some families just want to get some rest or whatever the situation may be, depending if she's working 2 or 3 jobs or whatever a situation might possibly be. So, Course, clinician, you want to add something to his perspective with regard to
Well, right. Well,
that?
so what the young man was saying is definitely it holds true to form. In group development, there's a process called storming, norming, performing, conforming, and adjourning. We're in the what's called the storming stage of this evolution in trying to change the image of the black man. And as I said earlier, Sage Talk, there are a lot of competing factors. But one of the main things that one of the guys said earlier that's been a nemesis or arch nemesis to the development of these salient movements is the lack of critical thinking. I saw it as a teacher when I taught school. People are not critical thinkers, and when you try to bring the information to them to change the trajectory of their thought processes, many of them reject it. And so I don't know what level that we're going to get on to change the image, but I am down with the idea to try to formulate a movement to change the image because, as I said earlier, there is an attack on heteronormative masculinity. And it's been going on for years. You and I, you might be a little bit, couple of years older than me, or we're around the same age, but I think you and I can remember a time when things were a lot more stable. But I love your thought processes when I was listening to your monologue earlier coming in, because your belief system is similar to a lot of the things you believe in, I believe in too. But the critical thinking comes in is, as I said about the competing factors, how much of those competing factors are going to try to derail us? Because once again, whether it be in academia, whether it be anywhere, anything that seems masculine and heterosexual often gets demonized and attacked. And our men have been so conditioned, Mr. Lee, to be less than, to accept anything, to tolerate anything. They've been browbeaten for so long that, as you said, when it comes down to critical thinking, when intellectuals like yourself and I and the brothers on the panels come together to try to project something new, it's met with ill repute because they're not used to it. And so that's why I say it's going to take a de-evolution of this, of the notion, the things that we've dealt with. Our ideas are nebulous, and I'm not against it because I believe in it. I do everything in my power as a licensed professional when I have the time to help you chronicle this process. But it's going to take some time, and I would say this from a more esoteric level. Some of these things that are going on is spiritual. And I'm not going to get too deep into that, but some of it is definitely spiritual. So we're talking about a lot of competing factors that are more or less testing the hearts and the souls and the minds of our men.
Yep.
And until we get to the epigenesis of all of it, once again, ideally, it sounds good, but we got to find out what the competing factors are, how to attack it, and then how to move forward as a cohesive unit, if that makes sense.
I'm glad you
Absolutely,
brought
yeah.
that up because now that got me thinking. Another point I was trying to bring up is we do have a lot of people in our community that just go along with the go along. Just get along with the go along. And it's just like,
Right.
you don't have to side with everything in a sense. You should have, your parents should have raised you right from wrong. And you're allowing the outside to compromise what your foundation already is. Why are you conforming to these outwardly things if you already been molded and shaped by your parents, if they raised you right? And I know a lot of parents are in their children's life, but as you said, there's lots of pressures from society. And it's just like these kids, as they're growing up and molding, you know what I'm saying? They're not solid yet because they're still in the pre-stages of growing up, going through all adolescence, stuff like that. But it's like, why is it that, like, when it comes to standing your position, knowing what you believe in, and this is why I believe the whole thing is a false when it comes to America and this multicultural cultural ideal, because a long
Take a
time ago I
cut,
learned
Sage.
oil and water do not mix, and then we're trying to pretend like that's a thing. And I'm like, do y'all not see what's going on? Because y'all say your ideas are good, but my ideas are problematic. When it's me saying the same exact thing to you, the only difference is you have more power to say so. So your agenda is going to get pushed regardless. Because there is something that's obviously undermining every culture that's out here that's supposed to be multicultural. Only one culture right now has a lot of pull and a lot of say, and it affected this right here, YouTube, Facebook, and all around the world. It's had an effect. And it's like You can't say nothing against it. It's not even about speaking against it. You don't have to say nothing against it at all. If you just have ideas that don't coincide with their ideas, you're already marked as an enemy. Even if you're not against them, if you're not with them, you're against them. That's how extreme some of them have gotten. And it's like, dang, I'm not even trying to stop your shine or judge you. Or maybe I will judge you, but I won't condemn you. Because I will be able to separate certain acts and behaviors. Now, you find that to be discriminatory. I find it offensive what you do.
Mhm.
It's just that simple. What's that, Mr. Lee?
No, I was
Well,
telling
I
Mr.
mean,
Lee chat. Sorry to cut you off.
1 second,
yeah.
Cliff. Let me respond to what Marvelous Opinion was saying.
Well, I would like to say something on that also when you get finished, please.
Sure. With regard to critical thinking is a skill that you must develop when you're young. If you're a grown man and you don't have critical thinking skills, that's problematic. And men who lack those skills can't be at the beginning of this fight. First of all, we have to understand, like Kosher Clinician was saying, we have to understand that we are in a fight for our life as men, masculine black men. Before we were lackadaisical and we were going along to get along. But at this point, the war has been persistent and continuous. We're either going to take up the battle and say, enough is enough. We're going to fight for us, for our image and who we are, because we know who we are. There are men who may lack critical skills, critical thinking skills, but they can grasp the idea. And if they can grasp the idea, they have a function. If there are men who are unable to grasp the idea and participate, they will not participate on our side. They will participate on the side in which they have been programmed to participate. That's them. We can't be concerned with those who will come up against us because they will come up against us. We have to set our focus to the fight. And whoever present themselves before us, we need to undermine them and bring them down. And if we are thinking and looking at this as a war for black masculine men survival, then we have right on our side. And I've witnessed too many fight and too many war where big media have lost. And it's just a matter of how much will do we have to fight? Or are we just going to say, you know what? It's just too much against us. Even our woman is not with us. We can make up enough excuses as to why the battle is going to be tough. It is going to be tough. I'm not downplaying the fact that it's not. But if you want to raise the passion of men to be able to get into this battle, you must be able to show them that winning is an option. If winning is not an option, many men will say, well, why fight? Why fight? And I'm saying is winning is an option. Cliff, Z, I think you wanted to say something first.
Nah, go ahead.
No, it was me. Thank
It
you.
was me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the reason why a lot of people, well, number one, right? It's easy to just follow. If you look, it's easy. You know, you just have, you know, people tend to just like you because you're doing this and that. And I think that a lot of men, you know, they can't deal with being ostracized because honestly, some men, and it's because they're emotional, right? So the moment that I started moving different, I witnessed a level of ostracization from the black community.
Facts.
You understand? And it's because I'm not going along with their narrative. See, when you stand.
So how did you deal with that?
Oh, I just understood.
No, I'm asking, how did you deal with that?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you. I
Okay,
understood
good.
that these people were just going along, but they're not progressing. They're not going any further. When I started looking at my actions and the things I was doing and seeing the results, then I understood that these people's just noise in the background.
Okay, but how did you deal with that? What action steps did you take once you recognized that? That's what I'm trying to get at.
You know,
Oh,
when I recognized
You're
that,
telling
right?
me how they thought and how they perceive you. I'm trying to find out, what did you do? See, it's all about what you do once you find out
oh,
how
well,
they may perceive you
I
as
mean,
being different.
well, the thing is, right? I'm not emotional, so I don't really care
I didn't
about.
ask for an emotional response. I'm saying, what did you do? Action.
Oh, I just went on about my life and kept doing
Okay.
the things that I was
Okay.
doing because I knew it was leading to greater things.
Okay. That's my point. You put on blinders and you don't get distracted. You
Absolutely.
focus on the objective that you see before you and what you want. And those who don't see it, leave them behind. Being ostracized, let me tell you, if you want to be great, you're gonna be a man that walk a path that very few men will walk. If you're concerned about being liked, if you're concerned about being in favor with everyone around you, then you're just gonna be one of the normal regular guys. If you
Yep.
want to be great, you're gonna
Mhm.
walk a path that's by yourself. Only once you attain the pinnacle of heights, that's when everyone is going to say, I knew him. I grew up with him. That was my homeboy. They're going to praise you like hell later, but on the journey, they're going to hate you. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to get used to being lonely, or at
But
least
see,
being alone.
but see,
Cliff, go
that's
ahead.
why I said so many men are emotional because they can't deal with the ostracization. They can't deal with that. They get into their emotions and they let it hold them back.
Yeah,
But
you
this
got to think,
this
right?
this
You
is
got to
not
think.
about a lot of
But
men. We don't need a lot of men in the beginning. We just need like-minded men. And that's my objective. I'm
Okay.
looking to start with how can I say, a team, SEAL Team 6 type of team. We're going to start with that. Cliff,
some
welcome to the
focus,
show. Sage
some
Talk.
focused
1
warriors,
second,
man.
Z.
So, oh, you're talking to me? All right. Good afternoon, guys. Good conversation. I wanted to chime in. You said something about the amount of money. You were talking about the amount of. Can you hear me properly?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. You were talking about the amount of money that's put into the blackmail image in mass media, right? And that kind of made me think, like, why is that? I remember I called into JB show on Wednesday. I think it was in the beginning of the month, and they were talking about like removing teaching about slavery in history, like slavery. They're
Right.
teaching that slavery is Black history, right? So my thing is, I asked myself the question, like, why is it that so much money has been pumped into this image? Because honestly, when I think about February and I think about it as Black History Month, my mind doesn't go to slavery. I'm from Jamaica. They have a very rich history of slavery there, but there's a popular Jamaican poet. His name is Muta Baruka. He said that slavery is not Black history. Slavery interrupted Black history. And if you go and look way before that, like even some of the civilizations in Africa, and not just Africa, but all around the world that are influenced by Black people, when you get to the nucleus of it. But I think that there is so much resources being pumped into this thing because you don't want to see Black people back at their full potential, building things that even today engineers are marveled on how these things were built. They have no clue. Black people are some of the most intelligent and gifted people on the face of the planet. And that is not to discredit other races. But I feel like the image being portrayed in mainstream media, it contributes to To
to a
it's
mindset.
almost to a mindset, yes, that makes you feel like, like you don't even think that maybe your great somewhere way down the line, one of your ancestors built the great pyramids of Giza, right?
Well, I
That
would
you
say this. I would say this. I like what you said with regard to the poet's perception of slavery, but
Mhm.
to me, slavery is white history, not black history.
Well, history
That's
is
what
written by
they
the
did
women.
in their history. And I
Mhm.
think what we have to understand when we portray slavery, we need to use slavery as a bludgeoning tool against white people. That is their history. That's not our history. That's what they did. We
Mhm.
didn't do slavery. They did slavery. And I think one of the things we have to stop doing, we need to stop looking backwards and start looking forwards. We spend too much time focusing on what has happened to us as opposed to what we can do.
Mhm. I
When
agree.
we came
Mr.
out of
Sage,
slavery between 1867 to the early 1900, how many how many universities and schools did we build? How many towns did we build? I mean, it's like after the 1950s and 40s, we have stopped building. And the reason why we stopped building is because white people were so threatened that they launched a campaign to terrorize us. And we have been living in a life of fear for the past umpteen years now. It is time we put down the fear of succeeding, the fear of building, and stop looking backwards and start looking forwards.
I
And that
completely
Mr.
agree.
Lee,
starts with changing our image.
But
Mr.
see,
Lee, I want to
Yeah,
add to that.
Cliff,
There's
go
two
ahead.
things you said on that. I want to add to that. That was dead on. Looking at the past, right, only serves two purposes. Either you're going to learn something or you're going to feel something. And most people who are stuck in the past, main word stuck, is because they're feeling something from that. Usually when you learn
Of
something,
course.
you move on. But if you actually constantly keep looking back, you obviously are feeling some type of way about it. Whatever it is,
Mhm.
whether it is reminiscing, it's doubt, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? And if you're looking too far ahead, you probably put yourself in a fear. Because that's usually where you have things that are for sure, you don't know. But your space right now and the way you operate is all ahead of yourself. You're not being present. A lot of people aren't dealing with the present things, how things are, now not dealing with truth. They're going off the false preconceived notions and assumptions and all the emotional baggage they have from the past. Like that one meme, emotional damage, that's a real thing for the black community. That's a real thing for us, man. But I like the point you brought up. That's 100% facts. We're too stuck in the past and we're too far ahead and we're not dealing with the things here and now. Our mindset
And
is
that's
not the now, today, what we know.
and that's
but
a crutch. That's
but
a crutch
see,
that we've been holding on to for too long. That's been limiting our progress as men and as a community of people.
but remember
Welcome to
what
the
I said.
conversation, Sway.
Hmm?
Sway, are you there?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Yep.
Sway in the morning.
Hmm. What's good?
Go ahead. Welcome to
Oh,
the conversation. Can hear you.
oh, for sure. I mean, as a younger cat, I think we should tap in more on our image. I think, as you get older as a man, I think you should definitely take your image more seriously. I know KS is in the chat talking about not wearing sneakers or Jordans and the streetwear life and get more business casual when you're talking about the image. I think there's a time and a place for everything. And I think as you get older, you probably should invest more into suits, into shoes, and nice dress shoes and stuff like that when you're taking your life more seriously. But I think to just outright dismiss, you know, sneakers or like streetwear is kind of disingenuous because not everyone can live that suit lifestyle. You know what I mean? Not everybody can live a suit lifestyle. That's just not who you are. A lot of people call them monkey suits. They're uncomfortable in them. I think when we're talking about the image, I think we should just talk about the way our perception amongst the world. Like how are we being perceived? There's a lot of narrative going out there. That we're either down low in jail. we don't care about our kids. Like that also impacts in our image. It's not just our clothes. You know what I mean? It's the way we're talking about ourselves and, promoting ourselves in the public eye. I think we need to stop, doing ourselves a discourtesy of like shitting on each other, especially black men and women. We got to stop, pushing out this narrative so publicly. If you want to be negative, have that conversation amongst yourselves. Stop going to social media. That doesn't help anybody. Doesn't help anybody to complain about ourselves so publicly. You know what I mean? If you're looking for confirmation, then you're just doing that shit for clout. That's the only reason I see people who go online and shit on our image is you're just looking for clout and attention. So I try to ignore those people. I agree with Sage Talk that we shouldn't try to save everybody. That's true. I didn't try to save everybody. I grew up in the hood, broke as hell. I see all my, not my friends, but the kids around me, their moms and stuff are on government assistance, but they still getting Jordans. I'm like, why can't I get the Jordans? I want to be sick. I want the Jordans. I want the new clothes. And then as you grow up, you like, Jordans ain't it because y'all still broke. Y'all still don't have education. Y'all still in the same place that you were. And like, as you get older, you just realize that the clothes don't really matter. It's how you, implement the knowledge that you have to like self-reflect and move on. Like I saw that the Jordans didn't matter in the long run. I saw that the diamonds, rings and the watches and the chain don't matter in the long run if you're still in the same place you were 20 years ago. So I try to go further than just clothes. I think it's the whole perception of ourselves as black men. I think we need to, just work on it as a whole. But when we're talking about how can we flip the narrative of change, I put in the chat, it don't take a lot. I mean, it takes about 10% of black men to get on board and lead the charge where we need to self-reflect. But I also want to say, I don't want to tangent, but I also want to say Lee brought this up a couple weeks ago that black people only respond to power. So I want to add another incentives. We need powerful black men to set the narrative. People who have a nice established life that can actually reinforce the narrative they're pushing. You know what I mean? It's hard when you see the younger people reflecting like NBA YoungBoy. This guy has power in the industry, but he's not wearing suits. He's not wearing, he's not presenting himself in a good image. He's a wild boy. And a lot of times, like the younger cats are reflecting that because we see that as power. For some reason, we see the music industry as power. And that's where we're getting a lot of our information and our, our image from is these guys in the industries. And I think Lee is trying to get people out of that where we can be more practical and understand how normal people should move. You know what I mean? Everyday life. We had a guy who was a skilled tradesman. We got a lead who's an attorney. You know what I mean? We can't keep reflecting our lives off of these celebrities or these rappers and entertainers. We need to be more practical about our lives and our image. And that's just kind of what I have to say about it. I mean, I'm not one to close off any clothing. I think that doesn't really matter to the fullest extent about your clothing. It helps, it matters to an extent, but I think the character of your person, the way you move in your life kind of matters more about your image as black people,
Well, I think, what you said, you touched on several points.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just went on a tangent. I got a
No, that's okay. You had a lot to say. No problem. That's what we're here for.
Mm-hmm.
Have brothers express themselves and their thoughts. One of the things I would say, though, with regard to your image, one second, Kevin.
Yeah,
one thing I will say with
up on
regard
that shit right there.
to your thoughts with regard to your image. I don't wear anything that advertised for any company at all. And I think that's something we as black men have to start taking the power of what we advertise. When you come on YouTube, when you're walking down the street, why are you advertising for corporations? You're planting images in the minds of our young people. Choose carefully what you wear and how you project it. And not to cut you, Sway, but I'm going to be honest with you. When I was 12, 13, 14 years old, for Easter and for Christmas, my mother and my uncles, because my father died when I was young, I got a suit. I was wearing a suit from I was 12 years old. So this thing about not everybody can wear a suit, everybody can wear a suit. You don't have to wear a suit every day of your life because may not be your craft on what you do. But every man should be able to own a black suit, a gray suit, or any other color that they might like for themselves. But you definitely must have at least 2 or 3 or 4 suits in your closet that you can go to a upscale affair if you have an invitation to go to such.
I agree
Not
with
even
you
an
to
up,
that
it's
extent.
not
I
even an
agree.
Let me
ups.
Can
finish.
I,
No,
can I
no,
rebuttal to
no,
Sage
One
no,
talking?
second.
no,
One
no,
Go
no,
ahead.
no,
one
no,
second.
no,
Did you say no?
Let Kevin
no. It's not
take
even
the
an
floor.
upscale affair. See, first of all, hey everybody, how you doing?
How you doing, Kevin?
How
Who
you
was
doing,
speaking?
Kevin?
Sway. How old are you? So I'll know who I'm talking to.
I'm 23.
All right. So if you went into, if you went in and you were up on murder charges and you had an attorney, would you listen to his advice or would you go on what you think?
I will listen to my attorney's advice.
All right. Well, as a professional image consultant who actually gets paid to do this, everything you were saying is what's wrong with the black male image. And I can produce any data that anyone wants with links to where young black men have done the own work of trying to see how differently they were treated by simply just dressing male appropriate. We have been in our community, I guarantee you this, I'm 52 years old. I grew up in the projects, single parent household, government cheese. If you want to match being broke, we missed legitimate meals. This generation, no offense, but y'all ain't missing no meals. And y'all talk this, we ain't got it shit like you ain't got it. And I had suits. I was made to dress appropriate because when we were younger as black people, we still had the church. And we had at least one place to go every week to where we looked good. One. And this has been since the turn of the last century. So miss me with this ghetto broke bullshit. Miss me with the they did it in the 50s and 60s and still got lynched bullshit. That is revisionist history. If they had been on the Edmund Pettus Bridge with fucking fitted caps, Jordans, t-shirts, tattoos, and shit, no one in the world would have mobilized to stand with us because they wouldn't recognize us like they don't today. Miss me with this, well, these young guys do it when you grow up. No, you do it now because your life is more at risk now. And you don't know what you're talking about. And this is the same issue I have been arguing with the black men on YouTube for the past 6 years. We are the only group of men that fight for our right to fail. It has not a matter of education. This is a matter of black male ego. And you don't want to have to assimilate. You'll look to anything you want to. White boys don't have to cut their hair. Yes, they do. You don't see your managers with mohawks and arm sleeves. Well, and if you want to give me the anecdotal, you sound just as foolish as the women you guys like me banging on. Looking for the anecdotal and the extraneous. It is time for black men to understand one thing and one thing alone. Your image is what was taken from you at D.W. Griffith's Birth of a Nation. This stuff has been well analyzed. It was taken from you by white America in Birth of a Nation in 1915. And in the 80s, it was ripped from you by Alice Walker in The Color Purple. And you've been fighting an image battle for the longest, young man. It's been going on before you were even alive. Be lucky that Cops isn't still on TV. Because when you leave this country, people think that they don't know, they don't believe the Cosby Show exists. They believe we are NBA young boys. And that ethnic image of that one street ethnic image goes with you everywhere. And it don't matter how nice you are. It don't matter all the shit y'all want to matter. And my last point is be prepared to change your mind because it ain't working. There is no logical business, there's no logical outcome-minded reason to continue to fight this shit. This is about your ego. And for a lot of black men, this is the last bit of power they feel like they have. It's Kunta Kinte and Toby and Roots. But you ain't Kunta Kinte, you ain't Toby, and this ain't Roots. You got a goddamn choice in how you look in this world.
Thank you very much for that eloquently stated
Am I free to
point of
respond
view.
to Lee and Kevin?
One second.
Or
1 second, sure. What I will say is that there is a change coming. And there are men who will get on board with this change, and there are men who will resist it. And whatever camp you're in, that's fine. But the change of the image of the black man will take place because the change that the image that we have now is destructive. It's destructive across the board. Go ahead, Sway.
I mean, I just love how I know maybe I didn't articulate myself pretty well because I was rushing through it, but I was never against suits. I was never against, that narrative that black men should wear suits. I just understand that to wear a suit every day, all day as your own attire isn't for everybody. I agree that we should own suits and we should have them for the time and the place, and you should be able to look respectable at any
Can
time.
let me have to inject? Okay, I didn't say a suit every day. I said when I went to church. See, that's disingenuous, my friend.
Hold on.
That's this. Hold on.
You interrupted
I want to be
me.
clear.
I wanted to clear myself up, and I allowed you to talk. I mean,
you can, but you're not going to misstate what I said. And see, this is the problem.
What I said.
Okay,
though,
and this
sir.
is the overall problem with image. See, we got a 23-year-old young man, and then a black man who is an actual image consultant, and you're wanting to argue. It's really not an argument.
I'm not arguing with you. You haven't let me finish.
Well, because you really, no offense, but what have you lived to show what you're talking about works?
What do you think my narrative that I'm pushing, Kevin? Because honestly, you haven't let me.
What it sounds the same is that, hey, don't wear suits.
Nope.
Dress.
See, you interrupted me. I'm not trying to argue
honestly,
but you're misrepresenting what I'm saying.
Anybody can listen to the replay. Yes. And at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter, because here's the problem. What I started to say at the beginning was, if you sat down with an attorney and your life was on the line, you would listen. This is what we do. And then there's an image that's going to change with black men, and it's not about a suit. Suit is what gets put over on the side, just like high value men. It's not. It's something to hit at. But at the end of the day, there's an image of the black men in the public and then in our mind's eye. But there's also the respect between generations. We're the one group of people that feel like we're all equal, and feel like your opinion versus my lived reality, facts, data, statistics, and experience, and we feel like we both men. And that's the problem. We resist hierarchy. We resist structure. And this is the issue with the black male image, and the symbolism of it is a suit. I've been at this I'm not trying to be offensive, young man, but I've been at this for longer than you've been alive. So it's not about a suit. It's about the fact when we walk out in the world, we do not get the respect we should. And we have to take advantage of our own image, which is not just appearance. It's A, B, C, D. Appearance, behavior, communication, and digital footprint. It all matters to image. It's not just about appearance. Now, you may not know who I am. You may not be familiar with my content other than the salacious stuff. But this is what I've been doing in real life for almost a decade as a business. And we are the only group of men that I still have to have this rudimentary 2 + 2 = 4 conversation with over and over again. Whereas other men are more inclined to look at just the outcome and say, what is going to be effective to get me the outcome I want in the time frame, and not be willing to waste time. You don't have time to waste. That's the point. Men of value, really successful men, will tell you the most valuable thing they have is time. That's why I push back when I heard you say later on in life, but when you're young, do A, B, and C. No, you need to do the opposite. When you're older and you got power, then you can choose that. But when you're young and have little or less power, you got to do what you got to do. Y'all can argue it back and forth on your opinion. And if y'all want to know more about image, go actually study image, not just appearance. A, B, C, D, not just looks. Peace out, y'all. Y'all can have it.
I'd like to, Kevin, before you go, I'd like to say something. Well, he left. So, Swag, I would like to say, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
I would like to be
Okay.
able to speak
I,
because a
I,
lot
I'm
of people have been putting words in my
swag,
mouth,
swag,
and
swag, swag,
I
swag,
haven't said
swag.
any of that, and I haven't had a rebuttal. But it's quite funny to me how he can say that I haven't seen him, or I don't know what he's saying, or I'm misrepresenting what he's saying, or misrepresenting perception. But he misrepresented all my points that I've been making. Never once said you shouldn't wear a suit. Never once said young people shouldn't wear a suit. I never once said you shouldn't own a suit. I never once said you shouldn't worry about the clothes that you wear. I was saying it's more than that. Just like you said, ABC is more than just your clothes. And I think every black man should have a suit. But what I was saying is to wait until you're older. My thing is like
But
the business.
you were being disingenuous when you say wear a suit every day. That is misleading.
I
And
said you shouldn't.
it implies that what we're saying is that all black men got to dress in suit and they got to wear suits all day. That's the seed that you're planting in the ether of the conversation. And I think that's why he checked you on that, because
But
you were
didn't I
being
say every black man
disingenuous.
should own a suit? Didn't I say the
No, you
Jordans
didn't.
wasn't? Didn't I say the
The
Jordans
first thing you did
It
was you
wasn't
bucked
it?
up against it. That was the first thing you did. And your facial
Mr.
expression
Lee,
did the same.
I wanted
But
to say something, Mr. Lee.
just sit tight. Jay, Speed, go ahead. Say
I
what you
wanted
were
to say
gonna
something. I wanted
interject.
to say something. And see, I was wondering what I was going to swag. Just hold on just a minute. I was wondering what I was going to say when I got up here because I was listening to it and it was great listening. And it just reminded me of my background and as far as the Nation of Islam and my military school background. This shows you that a group of men can be on a panel, a group of men can be anywhere, and you can hear something, you think he said one thing, and somebody else can hear something and they can see he said something totally different. Now, when I heard this young man came on here, I heard everything he said, and I put it in perspective. He did say there was kids wearing Jordans and all that stuff, and it wasn't important to him. And he did say that he was hanging around people that he said, I want the Jordans, I want the Jordan, but then he found out later in life that stuff wasn't important. And I think this is where the disconnect comes from. I'm 62 years old. I think this is where the disconnect comes with younger people and more mature people who's supposed to be able to have a conversation and try to understand where the young man was coming from. I got children from 46 to 22 years old. And this is one of the things that my children, when we have talk, this is one of the things we talk about, that when you know something, it's like knowing direction in a city. Sometimes you can give somebody direction like they know the city, but they really don't know the city. So you give them direction that they can't even follow. So what I'm trying to say is, we as elder statesmen on this live right here, and when you look at Dr. Ben and a lot of the ones that came before us, we got to understand how they taught, how they teach people. And if we always got to throw a grenade in the room every time we have a discussion, that's problematic. I don't care if it's coming from old people or young people. I don't think Kevin heard this young man totally. And I won't say what I heard was something totally different what Kevin was saying. Seriously. Because I was listening to this young man. I was listening to his vernacular and how they speak. And maybe he couldn't say the same thing in a board meeting, but me understanding by being in these YouTube streets with these younger men and speaking to them and trying to be a counsel to them, I learned to listen because I used to come into channels just like Kevin did. And I think he was wrong. And I think that we have to call wrong out how we communicate to our people on every level. And yes, he might be a consultant. He might be all that and some. But we still have human experiences where everybody's experience is different. I wore suits every day. Matter of fact, I slept in suits when I was in the Nation of Islam. But I know every man couldn't do that. And I know just like everybody can't own their own company. Some people are just followers. One thing I learned from military school, to be a great leader, you have to be a great follower. Great leaders are not born.
Jay, I would say this, and I will differ with you because I listened to both of them, both Kevin and I listened to Sway. And what I think Kevin was addressing is the idea of where Sway was coming from. And what Sway was coming from was that suits aren't important to younger men. The culture right now as it exists and who is pushing the culture, which is entertainment, rap, and rap is an outgrowth of drug dealer behavior because I was there. And I'm the
And
oldest
so
one
was
on this
blues.
panel.
And so
I'm
was
pretty
blues. Some
sure
of
of
the
that.
worst stuff on this great.
Hold on, one
Blues
second.
was too, but we
Hold on
we
one
came
second.
through that.
Hold on one second. Blues is not the popular genre of music that pushes the culture now. We do know that, right?
Yeah, yes, sir. But I'm just saying, at the time, it was the popular music, and it was just as
Well,
worse than rap is today.
right.
And
There
Dick
was a
Gregory would
time.
argue with you all day long about that one.
Well, we're not going to have an argument because
No,
if
I'm
we
just
do, I'm going
saying,
to
if
drop
you
you
want to be
down.
factual,
Hold on one
blues is
second,
some of the most dirtiest,
Jay,
nasty music on this
Jay,
planet.
Jay. If
Go
you
ahead, sir.
came up here to argue, that's not going to happen
No,
because
I
I'm going to
didn't.
drop
No,
you
I
down.
didn't, sir. I
This is
didn't.
not that conversation. This is not that type of show. This is a show where respected black men can have a conversation.
And
And if
that's
you're
what I
going
was
to
trying to
just
do, sir.
act as though you're going to be disrespectful, you will be
No, sir. I'm
relieved and
sorry.
dropped
I
off
apologize.
off.
Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a
Okay.
minute.
Thank you
Wait a
very
minute. That
much.
was not my
Thank you very
intent.
much.
I
I'm
apologize
just,
if you
that's
thought
why
that
I'm
was my
informing
intent.
you. No disrespect meant. That's why I'm informing you. But what I'm saying is one of the things we have to understand is that one thing, and it's pervasive in Black America. Young people do not respect older people. Now, that may be for reasons gone by, but that is a fact. We know that as a fact. And when a man have 30 years experience on you, there's something of value that he may have to say that you might have want to listen to. And most times, our young people don't listen. I remember once I showed up, made a comment on a particular show, and someone said to me, they said, he must have been a young fool because he's an old fool. And I had to laugh. And what I said to myself was, you know what? I had made a comment about young men who are under the age of 40 lack certain experience. And obviously, his commentary proved what my comment was at that time. And what I'm saying is that many times we as people tend to either be emotional or go from the perceived impression and react right away. I saw where Sway was coming, and I'm more tolerant in terms of listening to the conversation and letting people express themselves. Kevin may not be so tolerant, and maybe that may be because of his experience in his field. But there's definitely from the young crew those who don't respect a certain way of presenting yourself. Now, I'm not saying that every man need to wear a suit, but definitely every man have to have at least 3 or 4 suits in his arsenal because you will need them in life. And you have to know when to present yourself at certain times in a certain way. And Jordans, I mean, how long are we going to make Jordans our life? I mean, at some point we have to, as men, grow out of that. I mean, when are black men gonna stop killing black men for rubber? I mean, like, because a piece of rubber is worth $189 or 250, it's rubber. It's rubber and leather. When are we gonna stop this madness? I grew up when this stuff started, and I'm looking at it 40 years later, 50 years later, and I'm like, man, we're still doing the same thing we were doing in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And there are people want to argue because it's pervasive and it's popular that it's okay. No, it's not. And I think that was some of what Kevin was dealing with when he spoke. He was addressing the broader mindset and not specifically, I think, Sway per se. I
Well,
think
my
he was
issue is
talking
when,
more to a mindset.
yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
get
I
the
think
mindset, but when he's
I'm a
talking,
bow out. I'm a bow out, but I think
well,
sometimes
shit.
when we listen to young people, we bring baggage from other conversation because I would disagree with you, Mr. Lee, because I didn't hear what you heard. I heard a young man expressing himself about having varieties of things when he came up and having varieties of pieces of clothing and thinking about more interests. And when we do get older, we do as older men. We do wear more suits than when we were younger. Just like you might have a disconnect with your family, Mr. Lee, and I have a disconnect with my family when I was coming up. They didn't believe in our music. They didn't believe in our style. They didn't believe in anything. I do understand the younger generation have this level of respect for older people. I do understand that. But I don't think, just like when I walk in the street with the gang members and everybody else back in the 90s, where we was doing truths out here, the Nation of Islam, I don't think we supposed to cross the street because they're not in the same pathway we are. I think that's where the connection is. And I think, just my belief, I'm about on this, just my belief, I think Kevin was a lot critical on this young man due to some of the other conversations he had, and he brought that whole baggage and he throwed it on his head, because I didn't hear that. I didn't hear what you heard. I heard what the young man was trying to express himself. And my vernacular being from the South, sometimes I don't express myself until I had to go with what was his intent. That's what I go. That's the letter of the law when we're dealing with something. What is a man's intent? And I think that we went on some other stuff, had nothing to do with that man, young and Mr. Swag intent. I think he was bringing it to a full circle, regardless of what you do in life. You got to pick and choose. That's what I think his intent.
Well said. Well said. Okay. One moment.
Have a good day. Thank you for letting me up.
Lem? Oh, is that Chicago Rilla? Chicago,
Yes,
go ahead, speak up.
Just really quick, and Brother Jay, please don't jump off. I'm here for a good time, not a long time. I'm still on phone restriction because I'm celebrating my nuptials this week. But I was listening to the conversation. I did want to pull up real quick because I do think this is something that get misconstrued. Brother Jay, I'm definitely I'm familiar with FOI. I'm familiar with Nation of Islam. I'm here in Chicago, so I'm familiar with Mosque Miriam. I know the work that the brothers put in here in Chicago. But I will say this, and I rock with Sway. There is a serious disconnect between the elders and the youth. And to be honest, the culture that I came up in, and I don't know where we got away from this, but and I'm not saying this to be disrespectful, Sway, but my God, when the elder is talking, like the elder is talking. And at some point, I mean, I got my opinion. I got my right to say. I'm saying what I'm saying, and I'm not saying this against you, Sway. I'm just saying for the larger audience and the larger point. As young men, as a young man, when the elder was talking in my presence, I had to stand down. My point didn't matter at that point. I chew the meat, spit out the bones. Maybe I go around the corner with my homeboys and say, "Yo, man, that old head was tripping," or whatever, whoopty whoop. But at the end of the day, when I'm in the presence of elders, I bow at their feet. And I'm not misconstruing your words. I'm just telling you, I came in on the tail end of the conversation, and I'm really more or less speaking to Mr. J. And Mr. J, I do apologize that I'm off camera. I'm just not camera ready. I ain't got my makeup on. I ain't got my foundation on. I ain't got my lighting. My lighting ain't right. So that's why I'm off camera. But I didn't want you to leave because you were saying something. You were saying something, Governor. And I think it's also important that you balance that, sir, with the fact that at some point, the young men are going to have to understand and learn how to stand under generals and lieutenants in this thing. Like when I'm in the present, and again, I could be off, and I'm sure one of y'all will correct me if I am. But man, when Harlem Lee get to talking, I ain't got nothing to say. Why? Because the elder is speaking. And I'm not saying this about Kevin. I'm talking about when there's information, knowledge, and wisdom going forth. There's a disconnect between the OGs and the younger generation. And one of the things that I try and do, and I think this is what Brother Jay was hitting on, is trying to make that connection. But I also have to separate certain things. If them young folk cussing in my presence, I'm letting them know, hey fam, like I'm right here. Oh man, my bad, OG, right? Because you got to set certain things we can't tolerate, but I do need the young cats to understand. Like, I don't think it's ever the intention. And again, I didn't catch all of the back and forth with Kevin Samuels and Sway. So if there was something going on, then it is what it is. But I am saying this, and I do stand on this. You know, when the elders are saying something, it's not always going to be cute. It ain't gonna always tickle your fancy. It ain't gonna always feel good. Sometimes you're gonna want to poke that chest out and buck up at them. But for the love of God, for us to begin to move this conversation forward and for us to reclaim our communities with the points that Brother Lee is laying out, with the homework assignments he been giving us over these last couple of weeks, us as people that are younger than the elders, man, sometimes we just got it, man. I mean, and if I'm wrong, y'all can check me on it, but we got to stand down and let it ride. If we have the conversation, let's have a conversation. But if the elder is speaking and they speaking wisdom, I got to let that ride.
Can I rebuttal to any of this shit that, you know, the people have been saying about me in this conversation? I don't want to, I know I'm trying to get off because my girl's here, but
go ahead,
my only issue with the whole interaction was the misrepresentation of what I said. You know, the lack of respect for the whole thing. I wasn't attacking him. He said one thing about shoes, about sneakers, that we should stop wearing Jordans. That's the only thing I brought up about chaos and the whole, you know, never have, you know, that's it. And I moved goalpost that day. He was just a mention. But my issue is that it seems like everyone's misconstruing me, saying, "Oh, you got to stand down," or whatever. I was quiet the whole time this man was talking. I was quiet the whole time Rilla talking. I'm quiet every time all y'all. I listen more than I speak. And when I do speak, I expect to at least get the same courtesy. But then when you interrupt me and then get your own, you know, whatever, it's like, don't none of y'all niggas pay my bills. Y'all want to talk about generals and elders? That's cool. And there is a disconnect. Hold on, Rilla. There is a disconnect. Don't none of y'all pay my bills. Don't none of y'all actually interact with me in my real life. Y'all just here to talk to talk. This is YouTube. I can give respect, but respect is also giving back. You know what I mean? When you disrespecting me, you're calling me out of my character. You're saying I'm saying one thing. You're grouping me a whole bunch of people when I don't even believe that shit. And then you're out here pushing a narrative about me. Then I'm have a little bit of problem with you. You know, I've watched KS for a past year. I respect the brother. I listen to all the things he says. I own 3 to 4 suits. I'm not saying you shouldn't wear a suit. I'm a grown ass man though, and you're not gonna talk, move, and act however you want. Point blank. Period. I respect my elders. I listen to all y'all say. I listen to the words that you say, but it is a clear line that y'all have to understand that there is a disconnect between young and old. There isn't as everything you say, regardless of the amount of respect you give us. I've been living on my own for 2 to 3 years.
I will say this way.
It is what it is.
One thing about the respect is not just saying that you respect. Respect is an ability to display a certain character, disposition, even when it's uncomfortable. And when you say something like, "Nobody pay my bills," that's disrespectful. Because any man that's a man, that's a given. So when you throw out the term, "Because I pay my own bills, I have the ability to act in a certain manner," no. Because if you have respect, you demonstrate respect. And another thing, and I'm probably going to have a talk about this in the upcoming weeks, is that we as black men have to learn to give respect. Because a lot of us like to say you got to earn respect to get respect. And what that really is a challenge. That's what that really is. And I think we as black men, we have suffered so much harm from the societies around us. And we have been so harmful to one another that the men who are on a different mindset, we're going to have to be men that's going to give respect before we get respect. Because you know what? When I walk into a room of other businessmen, you know what I do? I put my hand out for a handshake. That's a business respect. And some men shake your hand and some men don't. And it sets the tone sometimes to the conversation at the table. So it's important that you learn sometimes how to take low, even when you're right. That's when it matters. Taking low when you're right is better than prostrating. And I'm not saying you were doing either or that you weren't doing either. I'm just dropping some words of advice that may be helpful in your future as you grow.
Hey, Sage, I want to say this, and I have to go.
Go ahead,
I'm going to say this, and thank you to the panel. And I respect the young man and Jay Speed and also Kevin. As I said, that's why I said earlier in the show, there are competing factors that are still in the fray that can more or less reduce what we're trying to do as men. There is a great disconnect, but it's going to take the evolutionary process. Whereas elders, we are also cognizant of the fact that the younger generation was not socialized quite like us. Now, it does not more or less minimize the importance of the younger generation trying to learn and to understand. But there is a great disconnect in socialization. We were totally socialized, totally different. Used to work with Crips and Bloods, and I worked in law enforcement, and now being a licensed therapist. So we had to take all those competing factors in place when it comes down to dealing with some of our youth. And that's where the conversations need to continue to be finessed and more or less allowing the young people to be heard, but at the same time, the young people trying to hear what the elders are trying to say as we try to more or less improve the image of black men, because the image of black men is under attack. And you're right, everybody's not as graceful in giving decorum. But I'm more like you, Sage. I'm very diplomatic. And I like to hear what young men are saying as well, as long as they're in the spirit of respect. So, this conversation's been an excellent conversation. I got to get ready for a show in a minute. But, Sage, I got your number, brother. We're going to finish this conversation at some point. And, young man, you keep staying on your grind, young man. I'm proud of you. And shout out to Kevin Samuels and Chicago Real in the panel, and also Jay Speed. Brother, you brought some great points as well. But that's why we got to have these conversations, because, as I said before in the past, and during the Manhood Chronicles and the Kosher Clinician, whereas men, we may not agree on all things or ideologies, but we come together as allies of a common cause only to dissipate once the crisis is over. There's a crisis in heteronormative masculinity that needs to be addressed, and the image of black men is an issue that needs to be addressed as we seek to move forward. So, guys, it's been a good platform, and I look forward to this conversation again in the future. All right?
Thank you very much.
All right,
Elam, go ahead.
Peace and love, brother.
Yeah, the thing that seems to amazes me is that, like,
Speak up a
we
little
don't
louder.
even.
I can barely hear you.
Oh, the thing that amazes me is that we don't know much about our history, and that before, during, and after slavery, black people, you did have prominent black people. You had your Kanye Wests and all of that. You know what I'm saying? Before, during, and after slavery. I'll give you an example. Jack Johnson, I didn't learn about him until I joined the Navy. You know what I'm saying? Then I deployed, and I'm learning about Hiram Revels, and all these other. It was like 174 black representatives and senators in office 5 years after slavery was abolished. You know what I'm saying? Texas didn't know that slavery was abolished 2 years after 1867. So
there was no internet back then, so
right. But the thing is that that like our community, they need a history lesson, because we're not being taught anything about, you know what I'm saying, these other black people that are already made. Like Jack Johnson, that was what, 1915?
1920s, yeah.
1920, 19, yeah. Like,
well, I would say this, and see, this is why it's important that black men take hold of crafting our own image, because as we start to craft our image and it's more positive, the effect is going to have a trickle down effect as well. It's going to trickle into the black family and to black boys. And we need to develop our own schools where we can teach ourselves, because once black men really start to exercise power within the society, we can leverage education for our own people. Once we had civil rights back in the 60s, we abandoned all the black schools, all the black businesses, all the black sports leagues, everything that was black owned and black operated. We're abandoning it because we had the right now to go sit in a white man's store, restaurant, hotel, whatever. We just dropped everything that we had. We now have to rebuild one second. We have to rebuild our own economy and all of these things, and education will be a part of that. Go ahead.
Right, exactly. So, like, the level that I'm at right now, you know what I'm saying? I'm a network engineer now. I'm in IT, cybersecurity, whatever you, all of it, pretty much.
Awesome.
But the thing is that you have to give up those weekends. You have to dress nice. You have to dress for that position before you even have it. You know what I'm saying? Back when I was making what, 40K, I was dressing up nice, and it did open up doors. I'm not putting any shade on Sway or Kevin or nothing like that, but it definitely, like, of course, when you go to work, you're gonna be suited up, of course, or any event, you're gonna be suited up. or even going out to dinner with your wife or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it happened in the past. So why are we having to reinvent the wheel? All you have to do is look back in time and see, okay, what did this guy do? What did Frederick Douglass do? What did the Supreme Court Judge Thurgood Marshall and the other one that's in there right now? And he grew up on the streets in squalor, throwing poop on the streets and stuff.
Thomas.
You know what I mean? Yeah, Thomas. What's his name? Oh, well, the Supreme Court
Clarence
justice up
Thomas.
there. Yeah, Clarence Thomas.
Yeah,
right
Clarence
now,
Thomas, right.
he did it. What like what did he do? You know what I'm saying? So we already know what it takes to get there, but it's just got to look back. You know what I mean?
The thing is,
can I ask you a question, EL? Because you told
second.
me Chicago.
Oh, Thomas
second,
Sowell.
Sway.
Thomas Sowell.
One moment.
Yeah, that's what I
Thomas
thought.
Sowell too.
Thomas Sowell, that's my
Elon.
man.
One
And
of
the
the
economist
things
too,
is
his
that
homeboy.
one of the things is that, like you said, we have to stop trying to remake the wheel.
Yep.
There's an image out there already that we can use to better ourselves in society. Once we remake the world in our image, then we can make that whatever it is. But if we wanna progress and have influence, we have to walk like men that are successful. We have to present an image that has already been projected for the past 200 years and counting.
Right.
And men that are successful from any walks of life, whether you're in Africa, whether you're in Japan, whether you're in Korea, wherever you're from, there's certain echelons of life when you walk into certain parts of society, you dress the part. You dress the part because you want the respect to go along with both the knowledge that you come with and the influence that you may bring. Go ahead.
But I do recommend like looking into the Hoover Institute. You know, Condoleezza Rice and Thomas Sowell. They wrote books that like extremely intelligent people, black people.
I mean, Condoleezza Rice spoke 7 languages and Russian was her expertise. I mean, there's some masterful, talented people that have come before us, but we just have to be willing to broaden our point of view and not be myopic in the way in which we go about the world and think that the genre that have existed for the moment of time that it has more or less have the answers. There are more answers to the questions that we have. 1 second. Sway, go ahead. I think you want to add something.
Yeah, man. I got to get my closing remarks because my girl here. We got to go do some things. But my overarching point of what I was saying was basically it doesn't end with your clothes. It's how you carry yourself as a man and your character and the whole nine. You could wear a suit and you can be a corrupt dude. You know what I mean? You could not have the best interest for your people or yourself.
But that's another dimension of the conversation. That's another dimension.
Yeah. I just wanted to move
about the intents of a man's mind behind the way he might move. That's a different.
Sage, I mean Lee, I was just trying to say it's more than just your clothes. That's it. I wasn't saying the clothes don't matter. I wasn't saying the suits don't matter. None of that. I was saying most men should have a suit. You should have multiple suits. I was just trying to say there's more to just owning a suit. You know, when you're talking about the character and the image of black men, and then
but you do understand that the image of black men is sneakers and athletic wear and baggies, pants hanging off your back, all kind of branded wear all over you. We know that's the image that's out there and that's been projected. And what we're saying is that as black men and as successful black men, the image that we will be coming forth with will combat that. And if you are coming up against that, you will be in the front of that combatant situation. That's what I'm saying, because we will be combating that image straight up.
That's factual. I think we should combat that image. Yes, I think we should combat the image. I was just trying to, bring up a point that it's more than a suit, and we should.
I mean, we all understand that it's pervasive, and we see people, rich people, billionaires, both white and black, will walk on stage and get an Emmy or get an Oscar, and they're wearing sneaks. It's that popularized. We understand that. But we're also saying as black men, see, the thing is, as black men, our image is so muddy that we have to clean it up. We have to clean it up because when you look at a white man, he could be wearing shorts and sandals. He's not threatening. He could be wearing a hoodie and sneakers. He's not threatening. But a brother wearing hoodie and the sneakers, he could be a billionaire and he could be threatening.
I
So
agree
that's what
with
we're
you.
saying as well.
I agree
All
with
right.
you. And then my last point about the whole respect thing and the disconnect between
Sure.
some millennial, mute your mic, G, because you got some back.
Yeah, someone has got background noise. Thanks a
So
lot.
my thing about the whole respect thing and the disconnect, I give respect off the jump. I know a lot of people say respect is earned and not given, but I give my respect to my elders off jump. The disconnect when you have between the elders and young people is you can't come out here think you can disrespect young people just because you are an elder and we're supposed to eat that shit on the chin. Because at this point, we not. I'm sorry. I respect you outright. I give respect front, and if you want to come out disrespect me, then don't expect me to just be like cool with it. My tone is going to change accordingly to the conversation. And all respect to Chaos. I love the stuff that he's doing for our community and the image and the whole conversation that he's having. I respect Lee and Rilla, all the older cats. You know, Hink
Appreciate it.
gets a lot of game, but like the disconnect is that you can't think you can disrespect the young cats and we just going to keep listening to you or be on board or we're going to, you know what I mean, get on your program just because. Like that's the biggest disconnect right now is you could talk to us however you want just because you're older than us. That's not
okay.
Sorry.
I will say this, that on this show, Sage Talk is a place where black men can voice their points of view, whether you're young or whether you're older. And you always have a place here if you have a point of view that you want to express. So don't worry about that.
I appreciate you, Lee. Much love.
Not a problem. Hank, welcome aboard.
What's going on? What's going on, OG? How you doing, big brother? You good?
I'm good. I'm good.
Sound like you had to deal with some fireworks, but let me say this. Me working with Sway or having interaction with Sway, I'm gonna defend him a little bit. I know Sway is gonna watch the replay and he's gonna make some adjustments. I've seen him do it before. You know, I expressed to Sway that I'm not a fan of the N word. I don't use that word. It's not my thing. This man has been putting forth effort of trying to, change that, not use that
I don't
as
think
much.
no one used the N word in the conversations.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that he's going to make the proper adjustments. That's what I'm saying. I think Sway's going to make the adjustments. He's going to respect, like I said, I think he's going to go back and watch the replay. He's going to respect and make some changes. And as well as he should. If the changes need to be made, I know he's going to do it. I've seen it happen before. So I believe in the young man. I believe the young man's going to learn from this. And if he felt like there was some disrespect, he's going to adjust. You know what I'm saying? It's just like anybody else. Hopefully everybody else sees this episode and they make the proper adjustment because the adjustments need to be made. You know, it's just unfortunate it happened like that, but hey, it was a learning process. We all got to learn from this. But hey, Mr. Lee, I appreciate everything you do, big brother. And I appreciate everybody on the panel and all the input, and I respect all of them. So y'all have a good night. I wasn't going to stay up here long. I just came up to say what I needed to say. Hey, y'all be safe out here in these streets.
You too, brother.
Thanks a lot.
Peace and love, and always search for the truth.
Mr. Lee.
Man, y'all really think
Millennium.
y'all really
Oh,
think
go
that
ahead.
Sway was being disrespectful though? I ain't think that at all. And as a matter of fact, like both of them did the same thing to each other. Both of them. They said one thing, then when they repeated it back, what the other person said, they said it in a disingenuous way. But it seemed like it seemed like everybody only said that Sway did that. But both of them did the exact same thing to each other.
Thank you. And I wanted to ask EL something. EL, I don't know what your age is. You seem like a brother. You got your head on you. Got some experience on you, and you're moving in the direction where we're moving at it as human beings on this planet anyway. AI. I was talking to and I haven't gave my son an answer yet. I was talking to my son. He's 40, going on 47 years old. And we was having a conversation, and maybe you can help me with this. Because sometimes I do take advice of younger people, because I don't live in a world you do as I say, not as I do. That world is over for me. It was over for me when I was younger. So here's the thing. My son came to me and said, Dad, everything you're talking about right now been done before. We came off the slave ship. We built ourselves up. We built community. They burned them down. And we don't did everything that you take me to go see Dr. Ben. You go take me to go see this person, that person, that person. You go to all these black conscious meetings and all this. You say, Dad, but we still live in a country where we carry money around with slave owners on. What you think that do for our psyche? And how much have we really accomplished when we have to take? He said, Dad, think about this. Would Jews carry around currency with Hitler's pictures on it, regardless of how much they both?
If they was in Germany, yes, they would. In my opinion, if they lived in Germany, yes, they would.
I'm saying,
was that for me, or was
I'm
that?
saying at the L, what's the name? He said in this time. He said in this time in this life, once it was over, and they, you know how their community, how tight their community is. Yeah,
But you're not being genuine in that
was that directed
in that
towards me, or
in that dichotomy of expression. Let me explain what I mean, because the Jews after the World War II, the League of Nations, which we now know today as the United Nations, came together, gave them a homeland, set them up with a military, and defended them until they got established, and have provided them reparations for the past, 7 decades, since the 40s up until now. When Obama left office, he gave them 38 billion worth of military. So they're still getting reparations from us, black people, our taxes. When slavery was over, no one came together and got us out of America, out from under our slave masters, and set us up in a country in Africa that was our own country. See, that's a difference. If the Jews remained in Germany, they would still be under the Germans.
I think that was his point, Mr. Lee. I think that was his point. I think that was his point. That was his point.
But the point is that the point is we still have to get past the fact of looking at the color of the person on the money, and we now still have to build for ourselves. And there's been a fear that has been put into black men since the early 20s up until most recent, that black men now have to start taking control, one, of our image. And once we start to craft and project a new image, now we have to start exercising other power within the society, because we have power. We just have been, it's like a dog that's been neutered. And that's how we've been walking around. And it starts with the mindset. And that's where we have to shift that mindset.
Do y'all? I think that was my son's point, and that's why I wanted to ask the younger man, because I want to his insight, what their generation, how they feel about all these great things they say we did, and then here we are in 2020. We got more men's wearing dresses now than we had, at any time in our history. And so that's why I wanted his perspective. What do y'all think about what we do as older people and how we give our history and tell y'all about our great accomplishment? But in 2020, we still in this raggedy house.
Well, that was directed towards me, the original question, though, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So my great uncle, and my grandfather pretty much raised me. Yeah, I grew up in the projects with my mom, but I would just go sneak off with my uncle and my grandfather, the brothers. And they would always tell me, you have to work hard in order to get what you want. And it's true, America is for sale. I mean, I have land, I have a house. You can't get that in any other country on earth. You know what I mean? Not as much land as I have, and not as big a house as I have. But I'm not tooting my own horn, but it's just proof, that it can't happen. You know what I mean? But it was always instilled in me since the 80s. Hey, you work hard. I'm 37. Like I remember it because I was like 4 years old. When they say a kid is a sponge, it's true. I remember being 4 years old working with them, helping them under the cars and stuff. But the thing is that we got away from is that most it's now that everything is so technologically advanced, people have become lazy. The machines do it now. People don't want to learn. They don't want to give up their weekend and study to get that certification or to go to online school or even go to school at all. I'm struggling with that with my two boys right now. I had to get on them too. But as far as that, your generation, the baby boom, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my mom is 70. So I'm 37. So the baby boom generation, they did tell us, especially black men. The black men, it don't matter if they sold dope or they was working on the cars out in the street or whatever. Get you an education. Go to the military if you have to. You know what I'm saying? Don't be sitting around here, because you sit around here, you're gonna get caught around here with everybody else. But football and stuff kept me out of trouble. You know what I'm saying? Me and my brothers and my sisters and stuff. But anyway, we were told. I'm from Texas, but we were told. But do as I say, not as I do. That doesn't work. You have a choice, and it's written inside of you. It's in your soul, whether you're gonna do right or wrong. But most people just rather be reprobate and just deny the right choice to do. And that's how you get a reprobate mind, and you keep doing stupid stuff that negatively affect your life, your outcome, where you want to go.
If I may
Because
add
that
one
stuff
thing
is
to what you said
easy.
as well. One moment.
Right.
If I
It's
may
easy to
add
get in
one thing
trouble.
to what you said, Elam, one of the things that separate us from the people we were when we came out of slavery is that we're no longer unified.
Right.
And not to knock anything you spoke about with your accomplishments, but there are many well accomplished individual black men. But power lies in our ability to move in unison. You know why Joe Rogan can say what he said about black people and get away with it? It's because he could never say anything about the Jews and get away with it, because they will break him. See, there's no penalty when you say things against black people, because individually you can't do nothing. We don't have the power behind us as a people group, to make people pay a price. We need to be able to make people pay a price. And that's what
Can I?
I'm talking about. But it starts with changing the mindset, and the shift of the mindset must first come with an image behind it. Paint a different image of who black men really are, as opposed to the image that's been painted of us since slavery. And a lot of black men has been raised in fear. Our mothers raised us in fear to protect us. But we don't have to worry about that no more. I am not a fearful black man. And there are a lot of black men who are not fearful either. And as men now, we need to try to put away the differences that we may have against one another, and start to find likenesses of mind and mindset where we can move together. And in that aspect, we will find a way to build power and a power base within the black man group. Go ahead, your response.
Okay, so the thing I know it's a black channel and stuff like that. But the thing we have to get rid of for men, we're only we're only supposed to love God first, right? But
But we don't. But we
the
don't.
thing that
That's
the
just a
thing that
that's
we
just a
move,
label. That's a phrase. We don't love
but
God first, because very few black men keep any law that God speak of, whether it's in the Quran
yeah,
or whether it's
morals
in
and
the Bible.
ethics, exactly, morals and ethics. But the thing is that, well, not but. So the thing is that we have to get away from the color, white, black, Mexican, yellow, purple. Who cares? Because at the end of the day, when the bullets start flying, it don't matter who's saving your life. Look at Ukraine. It don't matter what color person got me on their back, or if I got to carry somebody on my back. It matters what's on their shoulder. If that flag, that American flag or Ukrainian or German flag or one of the NATO nations, that's all that matters. I don't care if a German carry me on their back. Just get me out of that bullet fire. that hellfire
Well,
coming down,
if you're
raining on.
fighting on
You
the
know what I
same
mean?
team with the Germans, if you're fighting on the same team, that's one thing. But the fact that we in Black America still have to deal with a Voting Rights Act in 2020, and white politicians can bring that up as an issue when we have been out of slavery since 1865.
Right.
We are in a fight whether we accept it or not. And white people are fighting against us to maintain power. And other immigrants who come to this country, they side up with white people to get power in this country. And we find ourselves where everybody come to America, step on us, build a business in our community, get rich, and then talk bad about us. So
But you
this
know
whole
what?
thing
We
about
allow a lot of that.
we don't care about who is saving us. No, I care. And that's why this channel exists. I care. I'm looking to build a power base of Black men. And if you want to be on the side with everybody else, you can stand over there. You're not in this discussion and you're not in this fight. I want to build a team of Black men who want to build a Black power base. Period. If you want to build a rainbow coalition, there are other channels where they're doing that. That's not happening
What
over
is
here.
that? What is that?
Wait. Hold on, Elam. Hold on. Harlem Lee.
that?
Can I just for 1 second, gentlemen? Harlem Lee, if I'm out of pocket, just let me know. But for the sake of moving the discussion along, I think it's important to get everybody's other input in there. Lee, I don't know if you want to move the discussion along or if you want to keep it here with you and Elam. But I think it would, in the interest of moving this discussion and getting to some more meat and get some other opinions in here as well. I don't know, Elam, if you want to go with last thoughts.
Well, let Lim finish what he was going to say, because
sir.
I did give a response, and I think it's only respectful that he rebut, because there may be something of
So-
value that he wants to add as well. Go ahead, sir.
So what I'm mainly trying to say is that it's good and evil, no matter what color you are. I mean, it's a battle between good and evil, and it is. I've had Black people help me. I've had white people help me. I've had Mexican people help me, or
Likewise.
get promoted or promotion.
Likewise.
Right, exactly. It's so when you say when you say what you said is like, man, dude, I'm not I'm not the enemy, bro. Like,
No, I'm not saying that you're the enemy. What I'm saying is that, see, one of the things too that I think that
That's
may
how
be
it
going
comes
over.
off, though.
Let me finish. What I think sometimes guys miss with respect to when I speak, and probably when Kevin was speaking as well, is that there are times when we're speaking over your head. We're not speaking to you specifically. We're speaking to a mindset that might be out there in the audience as well. So what I'm saying is that we as Black men, I've had more white people help me in my life than Black people have helped me in my life. That's a fact, right? But that's not the point. White people are establishing power to maintain white power, period. When are Black people going to get together to say, we want power too? And I don't give a damn if I'm friends with white people or not. I want Black power, period. Ain't got nothing to do with you. It's about us. That's what I'm saying.
Mr. Lee, can I add some context?
Say again?
So, yeah, the issue, this goes back since the country came up. The problem is so-called Black people, right? We call ourselves that. But do we even look at the history of that word and why it even exists in the first place? Most people don't know why they call themselves Black.
See, we're not going to do that. This
What's
is about 2022, 2023. This is not about
I was only going to say
1980,
that.
1880. I'm not going back in time. There's a lot of people spend time on the history of Black people, where we evolved from, how we're called, what we're called. I'm not going to have that conversation. I'm not.
All right, not a problem. I won't go that way then. I'll just simply say this. The reason why it's hard for us to unify in the first place is because we don't have a nation. Does that make sense? We don't have a nation.
Starts here.
Yeah, I mean,
the
now it
nation
has to start now here, yes.
The nation starts here.
That's
change
true.
The mindset, change your outcome.
This is true.
The nation starts here. You put us in a land and if we don't have a unity mind, you put us in a land, we'll be no different there. Stop.
No, I understand that. I was going to say, like, yes, you're right. But it's harder to have that mindset, particularly here in America, because it's such a multicultural, free, main word, free society. So it's do what thy will. And I'm
That's
saying we have a
better.
lot of
That's
adversities
better.
that are
That's
really
better. You know why? Because only the strong will survive and rise to the top. The best of the best of the best, like Will Smith said in MIB. We will rise to the top, and we can take control of our black society. Don't worry about that. I'm not looking for everybody. I'm not expecting everybody mind to be on the same accord. Just certain men, the ones that are necessary for this fight that is before us. If you ain't ready
okay.
for the fight, sit on the side.
I know, I get it.
When
I was just
everything is
trying to
done,
put the
we'll bring
bigger
you to the
picture out
table
there.
and you can enjoy the spoils. But until then, you can sit on the side. And I'm not saying you specifically, so don't take it personal.
No,
Definitely,
I
I
get it. I
welcome
was
your
trying to get
input
clarity,
and
just
your point of
clarity.
view.
That's all.
Exactly. I'm just addressing the broader scope of the conversation.
All right.
Millennial Man, 1776. You were
What's up,
here
my
and then
brothers?
definite G.
How y'all doing? Can y'all hear me?
We're good. We're good.
Okay, we're going back to the topic because there's a lot of different stuff I want to talk about. I'm going to go back to the main topic here, and I'm going to ask every one of you a question. What are at least 5 to 10 things that we have to eliminate that's in our image today that we're willing to say we no longer should tolerate this? It could be anything from
Such
attire,
as, give us an example.
verbiage, how we speak, language, our temperament, certain mindsets we have.
Give us one real example. That's a very broad generalization of things.
For one can be allowing history to define our future.
Okay.
I think
See,
that's one of the biggest
one
limiting
second.
beliefs.
Let
Go ahead,
me let me cut you off right there for a minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is what I'm saying. When you get into history, that's the muck and mire. Everybody's got a different perspective on history. And that's what paralyzes us. It's like when we say we want reparations, you know what the Congress says? We need to do research.
Unnecessary.
But all of a sudden, when the Afghanistans came here, they got 4 billion, no research. Now that Ukraine got a situation, 6 billion, no research.
Isn't that
See, we got to
pocket
get out of
watching?
this mindset that we got to examine, re-examine. That's garbage, man.
Yeah, but where I want
We
to,
got to
I just
stop
have,
that madness.
I got
One second,
pushback
David.
on it.
1 second, sir. We'll get to you. Millennial have the floor. One moment, sir.
Yeah, and that's my point.
And the reason why I asked you for a specific, because I wanted you to cite something. I didn't know what it was going to be, but like
Right.
I told Marvelous Opinion, we can't keep going back into history because we tie ourselves up in going backwards.
Yeah.
We've got to plant our flag at the top of the hill, not
Right.
at the valley.
Right.
We've been in the valley. We're at the bottom. Everybody else is going up that hill. When are we going to start climbing to the top? That's my point.
And I'm on the same page.
But
That's
see, they're
why
going up that hill on our backs, and we allowing some of that because we want to play nice. Oh, let's be nice to everybody. That's got us at the bottom.
That's my point. We
and
can't be nice.
That's why I asked that question. Says that there's one of the things that we shouldn't tolerate no longer in the Black community, allowing the past to dictate and define us and dictate our future. Because I see this every single time we conversate. People say, "Well, the history and this, that, and the third." And then I say, "Listen, Booker T. Washington, he was up from slavery. He didn't need that. He worked with what he had, and he understood the excellence didn't have a skin color. Education didn't have a skin color. The guy got his education. He fought his ass off, and he competed."
Well, we are not the one that make any of the things that affect us in society a skin color issue.
Yeah.
Society makes it a skin color with us. So when we start to interject that in the conversation, it's disingenuous because it implies that we are the one in control of that narrative, and we are not.
We're not in control of it, but
we're not.
My point that I'm saying, Mr. Sage, is we allow it to define us. We react to it.
Many of us don't have a choice. Many of us don't have a choice.
That's what I'm saying, though. But we don't have to. We don't have to allow it to define who we are today. You know, a lot of people want to see us as something that we should pity or feel sorry for us. And then they say, oh, we got to feel sorry lower the standard for the black people.
We got to stop this madness about getting handouts.
Exactly. That's
We're
my
in
point.
the most powerful country in the world, in
100%.
the richest country in the world, and black people have the most highest standard of life. Get out of America and travel the world. You will see how high you're living on the hog, living in America. Even a
There you
broke
go.
guy making 42 grand a year live better
Yep.
than most people around the world. So we got to
Exactly.
get off this crap, man. We
Exactly.
whine too goddamn much and
Exactly.
make excuse for where there is no excuse, because you know what? We want the white man to give us. I don't want the white man to give me shit. I want to take.
Amen. 100%.
I want to take.
So that's all I got to
definite.
say. That's all I got
Not a
to
problem.
say. And
Thanks a
Sage,
lot. Appreciate your contribution.
you've already answered at least two of the things that we shouldn't tolerate any longer in the black community. All I'm asking is we should have extend that list even further. God bless you guys. Take care.
We will, absolutely. Definite G, and then you, David.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Go ahead. Yeah, we can.
Okay. Yeah, when it comes to our image in the black community, it really starts off with us amongst ourselves first. Just like you said, Mr. Lee, having that sense of unity before we can start working outwards. Just because, if we have too many dissension amongst us, then nothing will get done. But like I agreed with Sway when it comes down to the image still, because like
we're past that
there's a lot of
conversation.
people in
Let's not
suit.
go backwards. Definite
Yeah,
G. We're past that conversation.
yeah.
Let's not go backwards.
Okay. Okay. So
Appreciate it.
when it comes to yeah, okay. Yeah, when it comes down to really our yes, our clothes, our image, how we dress, how we conduct ourselves outside is one part of it. But again, just like you said, the nation starts within the mind first. We all have to get our mindset right first before we can start dealing with each other and start working outwards when it comes to our image. So that's what needs to start first. I'm not going to be here for like too long. I'm just going to, state my point and dip out. But really, it starts with us like buckling down, get our mindset right, and getting ourselves unified in a singular goal. So yeah.
Very much so. David, welcome to the conversation. Sage Talk. How are you?
Hello, how you doing?
All right.
Doing fine, sir.
I was just giving a pushback on the argument as far as like I believe in unity. I'm pro-black and everything, but sometimes I get lost in it because the key to everything is information, financial information, emotional education. It don't have nothing to do with particular color or anything like that. It didn't. Like, for example, if you ask for reparations, if you're not financially smart, it wouldn't make a difference. The money will go right back. So you didn't really solve anything. And then in my argument, and then to answer the other guy's question is the go along, get along mentality to where we can't disagree without necessarily, oh, if I don't agree with you, I'm not black or anything like that. They've been making slave movies since 1902. I think the point has been proven. We went through hell. Now it's time to get the information that's available to us that we have in our hand, which is Google, and we can sit there and decipher the information to get it further along instead of sitting there reiterating roots over and over for 30, 40 years.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But there's a reason they do that. That's done for a reason. That's done for a reason.
Yeah, but there's also people
mentally you stay, and then you're a mouse on a wheel.
But like David said, I think.
And then it's,
go ahead, David. Go ahead,
as far as the young generation is the fact of, I got a question. This is a question. If the youth decides not to listen, should they be left behind?
If a person decides not to listen,
yes.
It's not a matter of them being left behind. It's they're making a choice not to move forward.
Because I get a lot of pushback for trying. I learned a lot of information.
If you're on the highway, 1 second. If you're on the highway, there's a traffic jam. Everybody is stationary. But then your car overheat your engine burn out. When traffic starts moving, you can't move. Is that everybody else's fault? That you're stationary there and everybody else is moving forward? No. Something wrong
No.
with your car. You need to fix it. So if 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 everything else is moving and you're not, and you don't like the fact where you are, then you need to say, wait a minute, what choice did I make yesterday that caused me to still be here today when everybody else is 10 steps ahead of me? It's up to you to examine the choices that you make. It's not for me to get you ready to be here with me. I'm not playing that game. I am not playing that. Let me tell you something. I was a teacher for 8 years. I also taught on the street as an Israelite for about 15 years. One thing I know is that you can't change a black man's mind until he's ready to be changed. He have to be ready. And if you ain't ready, I'm not ready for you either. I'm moving with the brothers who are ready to move now. If you ain't ready, it's not about me leaving you behind. It's about you chose to make yourself stationary where you at because you are comfortable. I want brothers that are uncomfortable with where they are, what the situation is, and they want to make a change. And those are the men I'm moving with. And the others, you know, when we build a city, the gates are open. You're still a brother. You could come on in.
I feel
You
the
got to be
same way
careful
because I'm
with the
pretty
liabilities.
Yeah, we have
alone
to.
at
We
this
have to
present
at
point in
least.
time.
Yeah, we
One
have to
person at a
move
time.
forward
David?
with.
All right, one
Mhm.
one at a time, please. One at a time. Leo
Yeah,
call
David,
while
go
you want
ahead.
us to
Go ahead.
time.
David had the floor. 1 second, G.
No, the only thing I wanted to say is that I'm in Jersey and I read a lot. I pretty much don't. I disconnected from hip hop and everything of that sort of nature and like that. And the people that I do come in contact at work, I got called Samuel Jackson from Django, Uncle Tom, this, that, and the third. From these are brothers at work, mind you. We grew up together, worked together, and stuff like that. And I had to separate myself from them because now is the point that I'm by myself. Everybody else is, if you don't go along with them, you pretty much alone. You're not black no more.
Well, I
So
would
that's
say
a pretty
this.
much.
You will have to separate yourself physically from the men that are not walking the walk that you're ready to walk. And one of the beautiful things about YouTube is that we could connect with brother all across the United States and across the world that are of like-mindedness. See, now you could link up with me. You could link up with G. You could link up with Lem, Cliff, Marvelous Opinion, Meek. You could link up with different brothers who are thinking and seeing the same thing that you see, and you are not looking to be stationary, living a life that's 40, 50, 60, 100 years in the past. No, we're not that kind of men. And those are the kind of men I'm looking for. I'm looking for men who are moving forward, not men who are stationary or want to go backwards in time. Plain and simple.
But I appreciate the time. I'm always around.
Absolutely, no problem. Appreciate your time.
Peace, my brother.
Ricky, welcome to the conversation.
Hey, what's up, Mr. Lee? How y'all doing?
Doing well.
I'm in Vegas, my internet's kind of crazy here, so I apologize. Um, look, man, history is history. That's why it's called history, bro. You leave it in the past. Stop bringing up stuff that y'all know about this done, bro. Look, it's time.
You're borging out. You're borging out. Can't hear you.
Okay,
Ricky,
mic
we're not
check.
hearing you. Okay,
Okay.
now you're back.
Okay. So when you keep using your history as a crutch, that becomes your present, guys. Let it go. Y'all know what happened. Y'all know what happened. It's time for actions. Actions, round robins. This is simply to get the people that's looking to move forward. That's it. That's all. Y'all wonder why Brother Lee keeps saying the Jews, bro, because they run everything in this goddamn world. They don't care about the individual thoughts of who and what. All of them move in one accord. Every single one of them, no matter what they belief and faith structure is, besides the collective, all of them move in one goddamn accord. But people want to argue about how they feel disrespected. And ladies, stop calling these goddamn men. They don't need y'all coddling them. Y'all have no idea what disrespect is between men. Some men need to get told to wake the fuck up. Some men need to be checked. Y'all do not have a place in this fucking conversation. Right? I said it before and I'll say it again. Right? We need to plan an attack, move, and let the chips fall where they fucking may. And sorry to say it, a lot of y'all people ain't gonna make it. Y'all black, y'all cool with this shit? Y'all cool with it? Right? You cool with it because you good. Because you good. And it's going to keep going on until it's your fucking turn, bro. And I keep telling people, bro, it's always your turn. It just ain't been your fucking time. We is fucking lions, bro. We are the tribe of fucking Judah. Get it the fuck together, bro. Get out your fucking ego. Soften your fucking mind, bro. And let's all move on one goddamn accord. That's all I got, Mr. Lee. I appreciate y'all. We out.
Your voice is always welcome here, Ricky. Don't worry about it. Rilla, you still there?
Oh, can I get my can I say something before I go?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, this is my last point. Yeah, when it comes to what we're dealing with right now, we can't wait. We can't just be like waiting for quote unquote the right time to do something. We have to work with what we already have, because that's how revolutions are started anyways. It's just they grab the nearest, weapon or anything that, that's going to push them forward, and they just started. When it comes down to, America seceding, or at least, creating a revolution against the British, they got what they had and they just moved forward. And even going to what David was talking about, you can't succumb to a lot of the mess that Black people, especially Black, people who are just want to just hate on the movement. You can't just succumb to that. You got to keep moving forward and just ignore it. Just push through. Just work with what you have at the time, and then over time we'll start to gain more traction, gain more power, and then we'll start to gain a lot more impact when it comes to the world that we're dealing with now. So just want to leave you guys with that, and you guys have a good one.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Peace,
Awesome,
my bro.
Dre. Welcome to the conversation.
Peace and love, comrades. I'm about to power up one time. Listen, truth be told, Black men, what we have is a very low tolerance for pain. You see, a lot of us brothers don't want to suffer. We want things to be convenient. We want to be nice. We want to play games. But the people at the top, they're not playing. They're playing for keeps. I just did a video on this on my channel. Brothers, right now as I speak, I have filed 2 lawsuits. One for systemic racism and bias. It is a federal case. You brothers can do this. It's a 1983 lawsuit form. I'm a guy with a GED, and I did it. I filed another one against the state. I have 2 of them pending, and I'm doing it by myself, and I've already won one. Why do I tell Black men this? Because I want you brothers to understand that you have more power than you need. The same laws that oppress you are the same ones that will liberate you. I'm gonna tell you brothers something else too, and this is extremely important. We talk about help from white men. Let me explain to you brothers something. Them people don't care about you, and I can prove. Because when the opportunities come, when they have an opportunity to put you on their level or above them, they won't do it. They'll give you help in order to keep you in a situation that keeps you subservient to them. But them white devils don't care about you, and I call them white devils on my channel. So you can blame me or dock me or whatever. But I don't give no fucks about telling no truth. I'm tired of Black men being at the bottom and being crapped on in this biased, racist country. I don't care nothing about no trouble, and I wouldn't die for each and every one of you, because y'all don't understand this. People before us suffer. The people before, they suffered so we can be on this platform and have this goddamn conversation. Black men, I'm tired. I'm tired of I did years in prison. I was in the hole, and they gave me nothing. And it was brothers like Sage Talk that cared enough about me to talk to me, and that kept me sane. Black men, I came out to raise hell. And I came out to use the same game that they played on us, the paperwork game. This is it, black men. This is the key. I want everything that the Jews got. I want everything that every other country got. I want that for our people because they know what's going to happen when it get to our hands. They don't want it to happen because the black man is the strongest man on this planet, and they know it. And they know what happens when we get it in our hands, brothers. Thank y'all, brothers, for letting me say that. And now I'll respectfully submit and listen.
Thank you very much for your very passionate words of advice. I will say this, that as black men, we have to understand that we have a lot more power than we believe we have. And, you know, what was a very interesting situation that happened on YouTube a few weeks ago, a month ago or so, is that lawsuit between Tasha K and Cardi B. And one of the things I think we have to start doing is we have to start using the law to our benefit. We need to get out of our emotions and figuring or thinking that everything is at the end of a gun. And it seems like the only people we have enough anger towards is ourselves, the one that look like us in the mirror. And what Awesome Dre said, there's a part of it that I agree with, but there's a part of it I disagree with. And I will say this. If I was a white man, I wouldn't bring you up on my level neither. Why am I going to bring up a competition that's potentially going to be better than me? If you're waiting for the white man to lift you up on his level, then you're a damn fool. I don't hate the white man for what he's doing. I hate us for sitting back and allowing it to happen over and over and over and over. That's my problem. So sometimes when you hear my shortness and frustration in some commentary is because I don't accept certain mindsets. I'm not going to accept it. And Awesome Dre is speaking to that. He's not accepting the fact that because there's a certain image of black men projected, that is who he is. He knows that is not who he is. And he's fighting, and now he's using the law to benefit him, just like how the law has been used to persecute us. And I think that's something that we as black men could take home as a lesson. That being in America is a double-edged sword, man. And once we realize that this sword cut both ways, when we start swinging it, there's going to be some blood. But we just have to understand that we are not each other's enemy. And we have been raised to perpetrate violence against one another because we feel that we don't have any other power. We can't go up against the powers that be. So when I'm frustrated, the nearest person I'll take it out on, and that's our brothers and our sisters. We got to grow past that. That's what I'm saying is the men that I'm looking for with regard to the movement we're looking to build on the Lapeef Network and a new black man and a new image of the new black man and the movement that we're looking to make is for men that are thinking different. If you got a mindset of let's examine it, let's research it, let's go back 100 years and look up our past. If you're still in that conversation, you can have that conversation. We're moving on a different path right now. We're looking to change a shift in the dynamics and the mindset of black men. And then we're going to change the mindset in our women. And then we're going to build up new black families and new children. That's going to take time. But first, we got to change us. And that's going to start with a certain group of black men. So let's round out this conversation. Who've been here the longest? Our marvelous opinion. You give us our closing statements, then Meek, then Jay Speed, if you're still with us, Jay, then Elam, and then Awesome Dre, if you have something to say. Chicago, I'm not sure if you're still with us or not. I see your images
Yes,
up
sir.
here.
Yeah,
but...
I'm still here.
Oh,
I'm
go ahead.
a little bit, but I'm here.
Okay, I had called you earlier, so if you had something you wanted to add to the discussion, you can go right ahead.
You know me, Harlem Lee. I just need my Dapper Dans, my Gucci loafers, and then I need to know the homework assignment for this week, sir.
We're gonna have a conversation on another homework. I'm not gonna drop it here today.
Okay, boss.
Okay, stay tuned. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Sorry about that. Yeah, basically, I guess I got ended where I started off with, because you kind of lead into what I was saying before about it starting with the individual and be able to reflect upon yourself to know what's going on. You have to do your own due diligence. And ultimately, people in general are going to suffer due to their own ignorance and fear. I said that in the beginning, I'm going to end on that. I'm telling you, you're only suffering right now due to your own ignorance. And you're allowing your emotions to dictate your movement. You're moving uninformed and unintentionally. You're being irrational in your thinking. And you're getting results as, like you said before, Mr. Lee, you're hurting your own brothers. You know what I'm saying? You have to calm down, build your resolve, be patient. Life is a marathon. The thing is, people want to move so fast, so quick, so easy. It ain't that. Like you said, this is the long game. And you got to stop thinking like we can get it like now, today, tomorrow. No, no. Do for yourself now. Take it one day at a time. Have patience, build your resolve. Don't go with fears, going too far ahead of yourself. Be present. Don't go too far back. Like I said, I'm not going back for emotional reasons. I only go back for educational purposes. That's it.
Absolutely.
Most people, again, they're stuck in their emotions. You gotta have more control. That's all I have to say about that. But gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. I love having a stage talk with you, getting perspective and knowledge and wisdom. It's all wanted.
Thank you very much. Me.
Peace and love, bro.
Peace and love.
See, Mr. Lee, I don't know if you remember when I first came in what I said, right? And I said that they keep us in the trauma, and that's why we stay at the bottom of the list. That's why we're at the bottom. That's one. The elephant in the room that I think nobody is addressing is it's going to be hard to get a lot of Black people in general to come with us is because they're sucking on the teat of the Democratic Party, and they won't step out and take a look at what that is really doing for them and who's pushing this narrative of failure on them. They keep folks emotional, and when you're emotional, you cannot think rationally. And once your rational thinking is gone, it's over for you. You make all kind of mistakes, all kind of blunders.
Well, I would say this. Go ahead, sorry.
So, you know, I'm thankful to hear from everyone in the panel. I'm glad that there are a lot of Black men that want to move forward, but I feel like it's going to be hard to get a lot of Black people on board because they're indoctrinated into that Democratic Party. And that's what I'm seeing as a major problem with us in general. And they don't want us to critical think. Any Black man critically thinking is ostracized immediately by those people. And they send other Blacks at us to shut it all down.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, thank you. Yes, thank you for your good words. One thing I will say is that 2 elections ago, 8 to 12% Black men voted Republican. The past election, 19 to 21%, the numbers depend on who you listen to, voted for the Republican Party. There's a shift with Black men. And as long as we continue to grow and change the mindset, that shift will continue. We don't need everybody to make the shift. We just make enough. And whether it's Republican or Democrat, some of the changes that we have to make has nothing to do with either political party.
Absolutely.
We're gonna have an effect no matter what. So stay tuned. We're coming forward with different things, and I appreciate you here today. I appreciate your voice.
All right,
And
thank you.
Continue to tune into the show every week. Much
Absolutely.
appreciated.
All right. Good evening, gentlemen.
Okay, have a good one. Elam, talk to me.
Yeah. Any aspect in life, you have to have a unit of measurement, and in order to move forward, so you can knock out your obstacles you want to knock out. That's what I did, and I'm pretty sure That's what everybody before me, has done. So, I mean, it's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. You just have to be able to weather the storm and take your licks sometimes and keep moving. Sometimes you gotta get punched, knocked down a few times, and you never accept defeat and never quit. That's pretty much it for me.
But you gotta swing back too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I mean by never quit.
You could
That's
keep
what I
getting
mean
up,
by
but if
never
you don't
quit. Yeah,
swing back, you ain't knocking
don't
nobody out.
just stay on the ground. Don't. Sometimes you got to give up those weekends and grind. Sometimes you gotta work 12, 16 hours to get where you want to go. That's pretty much it for me.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your voice. Appreciate it. Keep
Yes,
tuning
sir.
in. Okay. Have a good day. J
You
Speed,
too, sir.
how are you, sir?
I'm fine, and thank you for letting me up on your show. I don't know if you're familiar with me. I've been doing this for about 2 years, just in this right here. But I'm on a water fast now, so my
Don't worry about it.
my brains is focused. I'm starting to understand my son's question, even being in panels like this that I call think tanks. I think the biggest thing I learned since being in these YouTube streets for the last 2 years, I worked in Hollywood as a stuntman actor for Samuel Jackson, Sidney Poitier. I come from a family of 18. My father was born in 1909. So I was always around knowledge. And one of the things it bring me to the conclusion, I only got 8 more months here. I got 8.5 more months here. And I got 33 people in my house right now that I take care of. They have mental challenges. So I'm a street soldier, actor, boxer, everything, because I believe that there's greatness in all of us. We just have to grasp it and grab hold to it and use it. But when I'm starting to find out why I'm going to Africa, I would see why my father had this conversation with me. He said, I want one of you to go back, and I think you're the one. I don't did as much as I can do here because I see the real problem. And I can't even discuss it here. Really, I can't. We can keep on cussing out the fruit all we want to, but the fruit don't become anything other than what the root puts in it. And if you don't know the root of the problem, or you think you know the root of the problem, but you really don't because you really haven't examined the roots under extensive microscope. I don't did as much as I can do here. I'm going to always support these type of channels, money, monetary. JB is who I first initially ran into. I'm always support these platforms, and especially if it's moving in the direction that is a positive for our people. But see, I don't see everything from redacted FBI reports why we have these images. I fought Debbie Allen, Steven Spielberg, all the way up to the top about our images when I worked in Hollywood. So I fought the fight, and I'm still going to fight the fight. I'm going to take it up to another notch. And I don't need to be here to do it for you to reap the rewards of what I'm going to be doing somewhere else in another geographic area. But I support you, brothers, and I hope you the best of everything. But my fight is going to another level now because I don't did all this. And now I start, just like I said, I started understanding my son's question when he say, everything you have taught us, we've seen before. Dad, there's got to be something missing. Now I know that's what he was really asking me. If all this don't been done before and we still in the same predicament, something got to be missing. And I guess
So
that's
grace us with your understanding if you have the answer to that, because that might be another part of the recipe that I may be able to employ in whatever strategies that I might be looking forward to develop.
Yes, sir. And now I understand it more intact. And there was some reason I was grasped towards this internet because I wasn't even I'm supposed to be dealing with a death today, but there was something drawing me to YouTube today. And I'm glad it did because it completed the circle. It made me understand just from the whole gist of things, and that's why I say there's no accident in life. So now I can start to get on that journey, and just like I say, I'm going to West Africa, Senegal. Been planning this for like 4 years now. And that's where I want to enjoy my life. And just like I said, I'm on a water fast now. I get 20 years back. So the next time you see me, you won't even think I'm the same person. I still play basketball. My jab is just as fast as I was when I was 19. I run these guys to death. And that's what is really making me so heartfelt dealing with this whole scope of things, because health has been my thing for the last 40 years. I got 47 inventions I can't even bring out into this country because they go kill me like they kill so many others. I mean, I got people in my house right now that had diabetes and gave them a couple seeds and totally reversed it. So there are certain limitations you can have, what I call this prison that we are in. And we are everywhere. And everywhere we are, we need to rise up, like you say, Mr. Lee. But sometimes you have to change your geographical area, like you change the people you surround yourself with to get the fulfillment of your journey. And thank you for letting me on your panel. If there was any misunderstanding of anyone that I have said anything that you might have thought could be negative in any way, that was not my intent. My intent is to raise the black man on top of that hill where he can put any flag he wants to.
No misunderstandings here, not on my part. I will say this to add to what you were saying is teach someone what you know, whether it's one of your sons or daughters or an apprentice. If you have that much locked upstairs in your mind, don't die with it there. Pass it on to someone that they can use that knowledge at some place in the future. That's what I would add to that.
Yes, and I've
much.
been doing that.
Appreciated your voice.
That's what I've been doing to the people I'm around, and because that's what we do to get lost and not having mentor people. We are trying to teach all this information. And thank you for letting me have, and all the brothers that was here today. We all learned something today because I'm a student of a student of a student. Peace, love, and always strive for the truth.
Okay, have a good one. Dre, it's you.
First of all, Sage Talk Lee, I want to thank you for this opportunity. I want to thank the brothers that were before me. And as I say on my platform, I do this for black men and because of black men. Black men, what I want to say is we are truly in a war. So if you brothers see me on fire, which you brothers, if you ever seen any of my videos, I only got 46 subscribers, but you know what I'm saying, Sage Talk Lee, I'll go 8 because I'm that pet, because we're dying. And it is just the bottom line. We are at the socioeconomic bottom of everything that is negative. And so the time for games and the time for trying to be nice is over because our lives are on the line. And if you brothers wonder why your women don't respect you, it's because you won't take it. And that is just the bottom line. They see us as society views us, Sage Talk Lee. They view us as lesser than because we won't stand up to our oppressors. We are very quick to, I'll give you a talk, Sage Talk Lee. Black men always talk about prison or talk about respect, excuse me. I was in prison one time and I saw a guy get his eye stabbed out for a suit, a 17-cent ramen noodle soup. And the brother said it was about the principle. And I got that at that time because I understood everything matters. But you see, we won't fight for these principles. I'm gonna try not to get upset. Excuse me. I'm trying to get on.
We want to hear the words.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
What bothers me, Sage Talk Lee, is that we will respect this principle, but yet when things are happening to us from our oppressors, when we are at the socioeconomic bottom of every single category that matters, when our families are being tortured under all types of different regimes, and you know what I'm saying, we don't stand up there. We don't stand up then because then it's not the principle. So here's my thing to those brothers. We don't want you because if it's not about the principle, then it shouldn't be about the principle when it's something small against a black man. You see, you brothers gonna have to start making a choice. You can't pick and choose when you want respect from a black man, But when your oppressors come to you, now all of a sudden you licking Master Charlie's boots. And that's what a lot of brothers you do, and you know what I'm talking about. A lot of you brothers absolutely do this. And as far as to this mindset of us killing each other, Sage Talk Lee, I want to say this because this is extremely important. The gangster mentality came from Jewish, Irish, and Italian immigrants who were gunning each other down during Prohibition indiscriminately. Now, these guys were romanticized. These guys were viewed as folk heroes unto their community. But when black men found themselves under the same circumstances, then all of a sudden the narrative changed. You see, so what we have to do is we have to understand that if a black man is killed, he's more likely to be killed by a black man. And if you're white, you're more likely to be killed by a white man if you're Asian and so forth. So when guys get on here pushing these white talking points, like you saying something slick, we got to stop black on black crime. Yeah, we know that. But you never heard that when the Italians were killing each other during Prohibition or all up into the 70s and 80s. And you see what I'm saying? So we have to be careful. And another thing, Sage Talk Lee, I've been to prison on 3 different occasions, and I accept responsibility for every last time. I don't make no excuses. I've accepted accountability. But my thing is, when does accountability go both ways? You see, that's my thing. The pendulum has to swing back and forth. It can't just be when it's falling on black men's shoulders. That's when I have a problem, because if we're a nation of laws, then we have to be a nation of laws at all times, and not just when the law is convenient and it does apply to poor and black people. So this is why I filed these lawsuits. Sage Talk Lee, I was just on the phone with the judge about maybe an hour and a half. He was trying to figure out a way to dismiss my claim. I've had lawyers try to do everything they can to dissuade me, but you can't, because my mind is made up, and there's nothing on this earth that's stronger than the mind of a made up black man. And I want brothers to understand, to piggyback what you said, that they have more power than they will ever know. And the truth of the matter is that it's in the melon. And see, they know it. They absolutely know it. They absolutely know how special we are. The truth is, a lot of brothers just don't know how special they are. And that's really the major key. And like I said, once again, I want to thank you, and I submit humbly.
Appreciate it. Words of wisdom, no doubt about it. What I want to be able to see in summing up this conversation and discussion today is that black men start to really look forward to a brighter day for ourselves. Stop using excuses and complaining. Be open-minded to change. And if there's something that you don't understand, there's no problem with, taking low, stepping back, and let those who have the skills, the ability to lead and do the things that we need to do. Whatever skills you have, there will be a time for your skills and your ability. Everybody can't lead at the same time. And I think as black men, we have to respect one another enough to realize that we all have a different place in this society, and we have a different role to play. And black men can lead. And we have to be able to allow each other to lead in the different areas where our skill set applies. And it's going to take a mind shift. I know that. And there will be many obstacles, and there will be many black men who would be the enemies of the change for black people and for black men specifically. But we can't be dissuaded just because a few black men don't see the bigger picture. It's going to benefit them when the change come anyway. But
Yes.
Sometimes some people fight against the very medicine that's good for them, that's going to heal them.
Well said.
By me living long enough, I understand that. So I am not an abrasive man, and sometimes, but there are times when I'm short, because sometimes you got to cut things before it take root, or you have to address certain points of view. But what I would like to say, thanks everybody for tuning in to Sage Talk. We appreciate you here. I appreciate you. Stay tuned, because Sage Talk is not only going to be about talk. In the next few weeks and months to come, there'll be some foundational things that be put in place, and you will see the change that's coming. Thank you very
Sage Talk
much.
Lee.
Have a great day, guys.
Sage Talk Lee. May I add something before you go? Quickly, briefly?
Sure, go right ahead.
Thank you very kindly. I also would like to address how we have been failed by our black leaders, the ones that we could have now currently. They have done everything in order to keep us in a situation that is subservient. We no longer have the strong leaders that you remember from your day. I've done a lot of studying on these issues, so I'm not just talking. And we know that our leaders were either killed off, or they were jailed, and so forth and so on.
Enemies multifold.
I hear
and come
I hear
from
the
different stages in life. Well, that's the sign-off music.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well, then maybe next
yeah.
time. Well, thank you so much,
I know
sir.
what you're saying. Absolutely. I know what you're saying about those who have failed us, but we can't focus on the past. We got to move forward nonetheless. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Tune in next week. See you later. Have a great one.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to Sage Talk. Have a great Sunday.